all for daddy. Let's go, furry femboys. I thought we were all Jewish out here, guys. Are we not Jews? Let's go to the Kabbalah.
Young man.
Let's go to the Kabbalah.
Would you mind if you just gave us a few minutes while we spoke?
Yeah, let's go Jews.
Okay.
Free the Jews!
And the truth of the innocence and the reasons why they should be released will be so overwhelming, will be so compelling, that if the decision goes the other way, we're all going to have to ask questions about what's going on here. And if we lose, and if this judge says, look, despite the compelling arguments, despite what you presented in front of me today, I'm still going to rule against you, then we will go straight to President Trump's office. We will go straight to Marco Rubio, because Andrew and Tristan Tate or any other American citizen cannot get extradited without the Secretary of State's signature. And we will say to him, I understand we have a long and lasting relationship with the United Kingdom, but don't forget that that relationship started when we took their tea and threw it into the damn water. Don't forget that that relationship started when we launched a revolution against that stupid king and his stupid wig and that godforsaken country.
Is President Trump or the administration, do they have any plans to intervene in the extradition process for the Tate brothers?
No.
All right. Hey, guys. How we doing? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me and if everything's coming through all good. I'm going to bring up Gadget right away. All right. Hey, Gadget, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Good, thanks, Nathan. MilkBar. Hey, chat, how we going?
That's there's some highlights from the past what was it? Past week of the Free Tate protests.
I've been having a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. So much silliness, just especially with those few couple of regular characters. They're not really happy with me, but I've been having a lot of fun with them.
We got Crayons and Just Me. All right, I'll bring you guys all up. How you guys doing? How you doing, Crayons?
Hey, doing great. I'm dealing with some technical issues right now. Bear with me.
No worries, all good. Just Me, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good. I'm wrestling dogs into the car to go get some shots, but I'll do the best I can here.
No worries. Well, thank you for joining us. Yeah, we're keen to do this just because, you know, we're despite the Tate brothers being arrested and facing extradition to the UK, we're still being sued by them in a court in Florida. So that is still happening. And we're still having to fundraise for our legal defense. I'll pull up the page now. So here we go. So the link is givesendgo.com/free speech versus Tate. I'll post that in just a second when I get a chance into the comments. But yeah, so you can go here. And you can donate. We're sitting at 62,976. It would be great to get to 64,000 even tonight. That would be great. So every contribution, it really means everything. The only reason that we've got this far is because people have been so generous and so overwhelmingly supportive. So it really does mean so much. So yeah, drop a donation there, and we'll be reading every message that people leave for the donations. Also, if you do decide to leave a super chat tonight, all of that will be going towards the fundraiser too. So every single super chat will be going towards our legal defense. It's important to point out that YouTube takes I think it's 30% of the super chats. So yeah, it makes more sense to donate directly to the fundraiser. But if you do decide to leave a super chat, that'll be going towards our legal defense. All right. Well, we want to be reading out all the messages and really just plugging this fundraiser. But also at the same time, it's worth just doing a bit of an update to what's been going on with the Tate brothers, and where are things at for them. So I'd like to throw to Gadget and you, Crayons, because you've been keeping better tabs on it than I have. Would you describe it as things are going well for the Tate brothers or not so well?
Yeah, I feel like it's a bad situation that's just getting worse, in my opinion here. They're currently in U.S. custody, as everybody knows, because of a provisional arrest issued by the United Kingdom for a whole laundry list of charges that they have prepared in the UK, human trafficking, allegations of rape, allegations of child pornography, and allegations of child pornography and extreme pornography, bodily assault. And as such, they requested their arrest because they do believe that they're a flight risk, and they're currently in federal custody waiting for a bail hearing, which should have already happened. But after the DOJ's last response, I think that knocked Tate's legal team completely by surprise, and they asked to respond to the DOJ filing and ask more time, which is quite opposite of what they were saying before that. It was, they're starving, they don't have clean water, it's hellish conditions, there's cockroaches, there's a cannibal next door, it's not safe for them. And then all of a sudden the DOJ just leveled them with a response. It was absolutely brutal. And all of a sudden, oh, well, we can hang out here for 2 more weeks while we gather our response. So that was really interesting. And the DOJ response, they even went into the internet archives to pull up old Tate posts from his Of Wudan account, to pull up things where he's talking about how many passports he has and how he's unstoppable, how he's above the wall, how he's running from authorities in Spain, how he's not going to court in Spain. Like all of these old posts, they pulled them all up, and they pulled up a Mexican passport for Tristan, which is under the name of Vladimir Scorpius, which hilariously, Joe McBride, in their 30-person protest outside of the detention center, said that it was a cardboard prop. And this passport was allegedly used for financial transactions. And then we found out not too long ago, several hours ago, that their defamation case in the United States, they have been arguing against discovery. So they ran their alleged victim and her parents through the ringer with discovery. And then when it was her turn, they were apparently not, wanting to comply with all the requests. So the judge has ordered them, has compelled them to respond to various parts of discovery, starting from January 2001 up to present. And they have to answer for things like their bank accounts, how much money that they've made in the process, how much money they've made during their incarceration. All of these statements that their legal team and Tates and their agents and accounts that they control have made about Jane Doe during the process. I think that alone is probably going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. So this is a big one. The judge is going to order them, and if they don't comply, they could get sanctions, and some claims could be dismissed. So we'll see. But when a judge orders you to do something, when the court orders you, you have to do it. They're in a pickle now.
And this is the lawsuit that their lawyer continually points to, saying
Yes.
that this proves their innocence, and they continually say that everything has gone their way with this court case.
So that's pretty crazy within itself. Their lawyer, Joe McBride, has framed this entire thing around, well, we're in a defamation case in Florida against their false accuser, and once we win there, then all of their criminal cases are going to fall away. Like, that is just the most delusional thing for somebody to believe. And he knows that that's not the case. He knows that that isn't how it works. But he says that knowing that the fans and the friends who won't dare fact check them will buy into that. And the truth of the matter is whatever happens in Florida, a Florida civil judge isn't going to determine the legality of a criminal case in Romania or the UK, who have their own evidence for the cases that they're prosecuting for. What he can do in Florida is he can determine if the allegations that they've made against this person in Florida, which would be defamation, for example, it's called a tort, right? So if it's a criminal situation, it's a criminal accusation, it's called a charge, right? You've been charged with a criminal offense. But for civil claims, it's called a tort, T-O-R-T. So the Florida judge can just determine, was this a tort in the state of Florida? In whatever he comes up with, however that plays out, isn't going to have impact, certainly zero impact in the UK. And it's not going to have impact in Romania as well. She's one of 46 alleged victims in UK that Romania has. Romania and the UK sent documents to the Department of Justice, which were included in their reply, listing the charges, investigations, and Romania specifically said there are 46 alleged, Romania's prosecutors called them victims, but because of everything going on, I need to say alleged victims, 46 of them. So whatever happens to her, she is one of 46. And for those of you who have not read through all the documentation, there are around a dozen or so women in Romania who have given very strong statements not in favor of the Tate brothers. So one of the things that so many people are pushing, we have this girl and this girl and this woman, they've made videos saying that the Tates are great guys. Number one, it was also exposed in Romanian court documents that through Andrew's recorded jail calls with his cousin Luke, that they instructed those girls to make those videos. So those videos are making the rounds once again. And they were telling them what to say, telling them to make another video, etc. So number one, there's that. And then you have over a dozen women who have made statements not in their favor, including their own caregiver, Tristan's own caregiver for his daughter, who gave a statement to Romanian authorities along the lines of, she was instructed not to take care of the daughter unless the mother, who's the mother of Tristan's child, made OnlyFans content. So she was instructed not to take care of the child unless the mother made OnlyFans content. This was her statement. An employee who worked for the brothers gave her statement to Romanian authorities about this. So when you hear things like the mothers of their children were added to the case as possible human trafficking victims, that's why they've added these women, the mothers of their children, to that Romanian case. And it doesn't matter if a woman comes forward and says, I haven't been trafficked. I mean, it certainly helps if they work alongside authorities. But if they say I haven't been trafficked, authorities who deal with human trafficking cases, they're well aware of psychological issues, possible blackmail, threats, etc., where victims of human trafficking might go to bat and stick up for their alleged traffickers. And what matters is if the prosecutors find evidence, they believe that they found evidence that these women were exploited, that's why they can add them to the case. So yeah, it's the whole thing is a shit show, top to bottom, and all of the public framing around the Florida defamation case and how the UK is paying NGOs and how people are being paid. Listen, there is, and I know there's lots of people who will listen to this on the playback and listening live. There's zero evidence that exists. Nobody has submitted evidence that actually proves that anyone is being paid or even hints that anyone is being paid. And you need to understand that there's two things being said. There's things that they are saying publicly, right? We're saying all these things publicly. It's corruption. We have proof that XYZ has been paid. We have proof that the United Kingdom has paid for all of this. We have proof that these are NGO paid bots, whatever the case is. We have proof that she was paid $30,000 to go, whatever it is. That's not what they're actually arguing in court. when it comes to the way they argue in court, none of that stuff comes up because no evidence actually exists of those things, at least nothing that's ever been filed up to this date. There are wild accusations that have been made in the Florida defamation case, but they haven't actually provided any evidence to substantiate those claims yet. And at this stage, all of those claims in the Florida case are unproven claims. And some of them are just wild conspiracy claims.
This
and Garrett says, I'm still waiting for my Matrix paycheck.
But I think this is a good point where you see all of this just, you know, crazy stuff that the Tates, well, now, I mean, the Tates aren't saying anything publicly now, but
shit.
The Tates lawyers are saying just wild, crazy, out there type stuff. As you're saying, they are not arguing this in court. They aren't making these arguments. You know, their personas are very, very different when they're actually in court with a judge. It's a bit like with the Tyler Robertson stuff with Candace Owens. All the crazy stuff that Candace Owens is putting out there in defense of Tyler Robinson. I mean, you know, Tyler Robinson's own defense team is not arguing. They're not making those arguments. So likewise, you see the Tate brothers and their lawyer going out there and saying just, I mean, I don't even know what is the latest gadget that they're saying. It's a lot of like the UK. Look how corrupt the UK is. Look how soft they were with grooming gangs. A lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to paint the UK as corrupt and weak on the same charges that the Tate brothers are facing. I'm not sure. Like, what have you seen? I mean, because I have only seen the highlights of just these ridiculous protests. So
yeah. I mean, as far as like what we're seeing on X, it's a bit of Twilight Zone. I feel that we're getting like a lot of a repeat of the same things they were saying in 2023. They're bringing up all those old videos of the handful of women who said they're not victims. They're going back to Jane Doe and talking about that again. Will Pujols has come out of the woodwork and started just saying the same stuff he's been saying for 3 years.
My Lord, that guy's insane. That guy is absolutely insane. And I bet he's really nervous. He put disclaimers. He put a disclaimer in his feed right now, because after the news came out about the discovery and how they're being compelled to list all of their agents and all this information, he's putting disclaimers up there. Yeah, I would imagine a lot of these guys are really nervous right now, because if that connection is made, that could have some implications.
Yeah, and we see Ryan Dawson trying to be a good boy now too, aren't you? So there's him. Suleiman's just pretending he never did any of this, and the internet doesn't forget Sully. I'm sorry, but yeah, these guys are probably a bit worried, I think. But yeah, Will. Oh my God, he's a character. I feel like I should be ignoring him, but he's just too much fun. He's just so ridiculous.
I mean, we could do an episode just dedicated towards Will.
Just laughing.
His own backstory.
Just laughing. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think the big thing though is like it's a pale imitation of what happened in 2023 as far as like the amount of support they have, the amount of reach, the amount of like traffic all these propaganda posts are getting. It's just sad. It's pathetic. And there's just these handful of hangers-on that are just still doing it. It's really sad to see. I mean, you can see it just with the ones that are showing up protesting outside the jail. There's just 1, 2, 3 guys doing push-ups in the rain. So that's at least a positive, I think, that all the rubbish they were saying and repeating, and like I said, they're repeating it from 3 years ago. It's like you could only repeat the same rubbish until you had nearly everyone woke up to it. And that's what I think's happens. There's just a handful of just really brainwashed ones that will go down with the ship, I think. And that's pretty much it. It's just a sad state of affairs for those guys.
Yeah, so I think people would be aware there's a lot of these accounts that are to do with, you know, Tate, the real world. They have it in their handles, and that's where you become aware that, you know, the Tates have this, you know, I believe it's this kind of propaganda network where they're able to just pump out all this information through, you know, a handful of loyal people, and some of them are you know, nameless and faceless, and some of them actually have quite significant followings. But that's why it's quite interesting now to see this actually, you know, potentially have real ramifications. So how does that? I mean, how does that look? Maybe expand a little bit on that with this new, you know, with this new discovery from the judge to do with this civil suit. Like you said, we're now seeing people actually start to delete their accounts. So what could this actually lead to?
Well, it's hard to say where this could lead, but if there are agreements that have been made between various accounts to defame a certain individual, specifically Jane Doe and possibly her parents, if there's agreements that could be found there, that could be considered conspiracy. You know, and you need an agreement in order to do that. So that, you know, we'll see. And they could use that to go after additional people if they really wanted to. I mean, I can't speculate on what the long play is here, other than first, just absolute gathering of all of the evidence to support her claim and her counterclaim, and to help her in her defense against the Tate brothers, because truth is an absolute defense in the United States against defamation. And they're claiming that she defamed them by saying that they were trafficking women. But if she can prove, assuming this even goes to trial, the majority of civil cases don't even go to trial. They might, a lot of them end with, you know, summary judgment or something like that. But assuming it does go to trial, if she's able to prove through their own documents, through their own financial transactions, through their own history, through the webcam and OnlyFans industry in cooperation with them, and they've sent subpoenas out, or I don't know if those have gone out yet, or in the process of trying to go out to like OnlyFans and My Free Cams and Chatterbait and all those. But if she can prove an element of, yeah, they were controlling the money, they were collecting the money, they weren't paying the money out properly, like the way they're supposed to. If she can prove that, that's a valid argument against defamation. So, you know, we'll see. She's, you know, discovery works both ways. You know, they're allowed to require or ask a bunch of things about her, which they've done. And now that, you know, that coin has been flipped over, now she's allowed to go and find out all the information she can gather to help her case. I think it's an interesting position to be in, because they don't want people to know how much money they've made. I mean, they're even going after ownership of Hustlers University, the War Room, how much money they've made. So this could be a bombshell if that information were to get out, especially if it is drastically different than this public persona that the Tates and their entire team has been putting out there. You know, just as an example, and this is just a example here, I'm not stating that this actually happened, but let's say theoretically, it turns out that there's only 10,000 students in the real world, right? And like, that's it. That would just be a devastating blow to those guys. So we'll see. Or, you know, or if it were to come, I mean, they're going after all the bank accounts, financial transactions, everything. So I don't know if that information is ever going to become public, but if it did at some point, and it shows something different, you know, what if these guys don't have nowhere near as much money as they said they did? That would be really embarrassing for them. And the flip side of that coin is they could be vastly more wealthy than they're letting on too. I mean, it could go either way, but the fact that they're fighting it makes me think that there's another story that they don't want to get out.
Well, Crayons, if they confirm my belief that there's a tiny fraction of the amount of kids that they say they have in Hustlers University, that not only reputationally is that embarrassing and humiliating, but like that's some fraud there, because that's been a massive part of their selling points that they use, that they say there's 200,000 people here all making money. And I don't think that's ever been true, but especially the last year or two, I think that's just absolutely laughable that they'd be lucky to have 10% of that and less than that now. Again, I'm estimating, I don't have those numbers, but that could get them in big trouble for just on that side of things, like potential alleged fraud.
Yeah, who knows? You know, it's once you peel back this layer and you actually get to look at everything. And granted, this is something that's going to happen in court, and they don't want it to happen. That's why they objected to this, and that's why the judge ordered them to do it. So you have to think for a second and say, well, if your finances are so tight and everything you're saying about who owns this and who owns that, and your memberships with this, your memberships with that, if everything is so ironclad the way you said it is, then why are you fighting that information being brought into Florida court where you are suing this woman and her parents? So, yeah, I mean, who knows where it's going to lead? But I suspect, I know a lot of this information is going to be sealed when it gets presented to the court. But who knows? You know, at some point, maybe that will come out. There's also things that happen where files get uploaded to the court, and it might take the court 15 minutes. In some case, it might take them hours to seal a document. We've seen that before. So it's possible if you're there at the right time when something gets uploaded, or if you were to create an AI agent to constantly be watching the court docket, so as soon as something gets uploaded, you download it immediately. Just, you know, putting that out there. It's possible that those sorts of documents could be gathered, and you might be able to see them unsealed at some point. I don't know. I'm speculating. Somebody said in here, James, that Tate's lawyers are objecting to the subpoenas going out to Chatterbait, MyFreeCams, and all of that. Yeah, they are. And what they're trying to do is just limit the scope. They're trying to limit the scope. But what the judge has ordered Tate is all the financial records and all the information regarding those accounts. So they might not even need those subpoenas when it's all said and done. We'll see. But ultimately, what the Tate's counsel want to do is just limit the scope of that. So, for example, just explain how this works. The Tate brothers wanted to do discovery on Jane Doe back to the point where she was a minor, where she was underage, right? And her team fought against that and wanted to limit the scope to where, like, you know, we're going to comply with discovery, but, you know, the fact that she was a minor, like, nothing that she did as a minor should be admissible in this court. And the judge agreed. So now the other side of that coin is now she's been granted discovery and all the things that she's searching for, but she can only get them currently from January 2021 to present. That's the scope that she's been allowed. Now, he also made a note in that order that that can be expanded. And simplified, that means if they find something that leads to something older, which is relevant, then it is possible that she can ask to expand that date range. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think this is really a fascinating development. They don't want information to get out there for some reason. Just like they sealed all of our exhibits. They don't want you to see why they're suing us. They don't want you to see it. They filed a 4,000-page exhibit in the second amended complaint. 4,000 pages. And it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. And they sealed it so you can't see. So we can't post it and show you what they're actually suing us for, which is just, they're suing us for statements that are so hilariously absurd and not even in the realm of even being close to defamatory. There's things in there where I just laugh with an emoji, and they've just, you know, took a screenshot and put that in there. It's just absurd. Absolutely absurd. But anyway, they seal these things because they don't want the public to see how dumb these lawsuits are. If you could see all of the exhibits, everybody would be like donating right now because they would see the absurdity of the entire thing. because they would say, "Oh my God, this is bigger bullshit than I thought it was."
I was about to say it's worse than people realize, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, it's worse. And we have 2 court dates coming up. Can you zoom in on those, Nathan?
Yeah. Let me zoom in. Here we go.
Here we go. We have 2 hearings. We have August 28th, which is the pure bill of discovery. This is where the Tate brothers sued X, the social media platform, trying to unmask the anonymous defendants that were dismissed from the original lawsuit. And we entered that lawsuit, and we filed for a protective order. So that's going to take place on the 28th. X is trying to get that dismissed. We believe that that's going to happen. And then September 18th is our hearing for motion to dismiss and quash the second amended complaint, which is a refiling of the first lawsuit, but it's only for named defendants. It's not for the anonymous defendants on September 18th. So these are 2 significant hearings that we have. And unfortunately, both of them can be appealed. So whatever happens on August 28th, if they lose, they can appeal that. Whatever happens on September 18th, they can appeal that as well. That's why we've raised the balance that we were originally going for with the Give Sync Go account, because number one, this costs money. Just the exhibits alone, 4,000 pages. Imagine how long it takes somebody to go through 4,000 pages, not 4,000 tweets, 4,000 pages of tweets. And that's just the exhibits for one case. You're paying someone hundreds of dollars per hour. That adds up fast, just reading through exhibits. So yeah, we had to raise our amount. So thank you for those of you who have given money so far. It's greatly appreciated, and it's allowed us to defeat them up to this point, and we're going to keep defeating them.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to Phase, who's just donated $10. So thank you very much. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's the people who say, "Oh, well, should have been more careful about what you were saying," or this or that. But as you'd see by the exhibits, it's very, very ridiculous. It's my personal belief that we were targeted for a specific reason. There's plenty of people who said far worse things, and people that have larger accounts. I think it's very, very telling about how vocal the Tate brothers, and especially now their lawyer, is about them suing Jane Doe. They won't shut up about that. But yet there's been, very, very little from the Tate brothers actually addressing this lawsuit against us. Right. And I think it's my personal belief that I think that they're aware that it actually makes them look incredibly weak.
Yes.
Why would they care what, some small content creators and social media users, most of them anonymous, some with very small followings. What would they care what they're saying? And publicly they've said that they love, especially you, Crayons. They said they love what you do because you keep them in the conversation. So they'll say that publicly, and then privately, very quietly, they'll launch this lawsuit against us. And I think that's because we've actually been covering them very accurately.
You know what? Let me jump in here for a second and say we have covered them, and not to toot our own horn here, but we have covered them more accurately than any media outlet, shy of just a couple of journalists. I can count the number of journalists on one hand who have done an accurate job reporting this case flawlessly, and who have done so accurately and with integrity. The rest of the media,
and consistently as well.
Consistently, yes, yeah.
So we've seen some really good articles recently that have come out. But you're talking about now in 2026, so you're talking about 4 years after they were raided that first time. So it's taken years for these major publications to actually start to write these pieces on them. And yeah, I think, I think that's because, we, and especially you Crayons with, the court documents, and Gadget, I mean, you've done incredible work with, especially with the real world and that side of things. Yeah, I think that they feel like we did some real damage to them.
Well, that's what they feel like. But here's the thing: these guys damaged themselves. All we did is reported on what was happening. Yeah, I just want to be clear about that. We didn't damage anything. They're crying and claiming that we damaged them. But listen, if you have been lawfully charged with human trafficking, organized crime, rape, and a laundry list of other offenses, if you've been charged by, like, you've done your own damage. If you've spent years on social media uploading videos and making posts talking about your system that you sell on curbatate.com, to where you specifically say that my job was to find women and make them fall in love with me so I could get them to work on webcam and take all their money, right? Like, those are things that are said by him. Like, you did your own damage. You can't look at people who are reporting on these things with actual court documents and your own actual statements and your own videos and say, oh, these guys damaged us. Let me tell you this. If our cases don't go to discovery, like if they think this Jane Doe one is bad, wait until our case goes to discovery if it ever gets that far. There will be no stone left unturned.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, absolutely.
None.
Yeah. No, it was great, and it's very flattering to see even Danny Pinto, who's representing Jane Doe in Florida. It's flattering to say that she's that she thinks very highly about the work that was done by us in getting this out there. I think largely, when I think about the landscape of when I started making videos against the Tate brothers, I mean, it's incredible how much has changed, really. There was a point in time where people were like, okay, well, I don't like some of the things that Andrew Tate says, but there's plenty that we do like. So they were willing to defend him. But even still, they were saying, but I don't know about these criminal cases. I don't know about these criminal cases at all. They seem like they're drummed up. Whereas now it's like, at this point in time, there's very few people, I think, who are openly defending them and saying that all of these allegations are completely phony. I really do think the people who are saying that now at this point in time, these aren't people that have a lot of credibility in my mind.
No, not at all. And we keep finding out. And by the way, for the record, I'm not involved in any of this, but I see other people. And here's the thing. Everything keeps getting blamed on me. Everything's getting blamed on Gadget. Like, people, we are living so rent-free. Like, they are doing live streams outside of the jail, doing push-ups, complaining about Gadget. Like, talk about living in someone's head rent-free. Like, imagine traveling across the country to do push-ups for your internet daddy while complaining live about Gadget, who's just reporting on what's happened and making fun of you guys for just embarrassing yourself. And
even Joseph McBride himself was outside. Yeah. Tyson Hockley asked him, "What about those haters online?" And he's like, "Oh, they're all demon elves that are just paid by the UK and like all this crazy stuff." Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, and for the record, I didn't know that NGOs were paying for this. So if you're an NGO, please have have your people call my people. I didn't know I can make money.
Isn't that a buzzword for them now? Everything's an NGO.
I mean, I prefer when I was a British spy. I feel like this is a demotion.
That was sick. Yeah.
Just being.
I miss those days when we were all secret DCOT agents, according to them.
That was badass. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very surreal, the idea of being sued by these guys who are now, in solitary confinement. who
Right.
are facing extradition, and can't even post on their own social media platforms, let alone do their cringy streams on Rumble anymore.
One of the funniest things I read in a document, they had a hearing. Tate's team had a hearing for the Florida defamation case, and they had to, or they requested to change the date because our clients are in custody, or our clients in federal U.S. custody in Miami, and we're not available in those states. So they are telling the judge, who is who's presiding over a case over a woman who said that they were trafficking women. And they had to say, well, our clients are currently in U.S. federal custody waiting extradition on charges of human trafficking to the United Kingdom. Like, man, wow. I would love to, like, all of this stuff by their legal team and all of their friends and the war room guys and their student. I mean, it's just Olympic level mental gymnastics, trying to cope with all of this and trying to justify all of this. It's absolutely hilarious.
I have just seen that Rory Sinot has once again unblocked me and left a message and then blocked me again and ran away like a little pussy.
Interesting thing with Rory.
Oh yeah,
he's
worried.
He and I have never had problems with one another. And I chatted with him a few times, cordially. Like, he was very nice to me. I was very nice to him. And we kind of made an agreement to where we wouldn't post in each other's threads. He was very nice about it. It's like, hey, listen, man, I don't want to block you. Like, can you not post in my threads? And, but whatever. I've actually made that agreement with a handful of people. I was like, yeah, I don't need to post in your threads. I mean, whatever, do your thing. And then he blocked me recently. I'm not sure why. And Rory, man, I'm kind of heartbroken. I thought we had a thing, buddy.
What do you think with these people who are actually, close to the Tate camp? How much cognitive dissonance do you reckon there are with the?
I think there's a couple of things. There are. I like to divide this into two camps. Camp number one is everyone who knew him before he got arrested. Camp number two are people who came into their lives after they were arrested and after they stopped the adult entertainment work. So that's how I like to break their friends apart there. I believe everyone who knew them before their arrest, I believe a significant portion of them are also involved in that industry. We know from leaked war room chats that a lot of the war room guys were involved in that industry. We've seen the chat messages where they were bragging about getting their names tattooed on women. They were posting pictures of bruises that they were putting on women. They were, brainstorming on ways to manipulate women into the sex industry inside of those war room chats. I think a lot of them are scared shitless. Several of them just disappeared. They just disappeared. Like they they're not supporting them anymore. They're not, well, it's not that they're not supporting them, but they're not publicly supporting them anymore. And all of those guys have all done a immediate brand change. Like they're all just like, oh, well, I'm no longer this guy talking about the sex industry and the manosphere stuff. Now I'm a family man who's talking about family values or whatever it is. Like they've all run cover and they've tried to rebrand themselves. And as Kim said, hey, Kim, she said the war room is taking new members at a cut rate initiation fee of $2,400. So they've lowered the war room price since all of this from $8,000 to $2,400. Wild. Absolutely wild.
Thank you to Crayons, $200. Thank you very, very much.
Hey, thank
you. So yeah, let me I'll make sure I've pinned the fundraiser, but this is it here. So givesendgo.com/free speech versus Tate. So you can donate here. And yeah, we'll read out any messages, any comments. So feel free. If there's anything you want to ask at all about the Tate brothers or their cases, I mean, these are the guys to ask. But
Yeah, let's do a Q&A. Let's do a Q&A. Tate haters, Tate lovers, whatever. This is fire them up, man. Get them going in the chats. We'll address all of them.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
throw it in the chats. We'll do our best. But if you donate or if you do leave a super chat, then we'll definitely read that out. So that's the top priority. Well, what's the latest with the DOJ investigation? Because I think that's you've got the Tate brothers, who are facing charges in the UK, Romania. But that is the thread, right? That you have the war room, and potentially, hypothetically, this larger network that also falls under the definition of human trafficking. So this is where you're saying that there's a lot of people who would be terrified right now.
I mean, think about this.
Well, this could be the thing, right? I could see realistically. I could realistically see the Tate brothers being convicted, and then a larger investigation opening up about these other people who were also, adopting these same methods of human trafficking. And there's always been these questions about who are the people in the war room, how famous are they? So you have this potential like Epstein client list thing where names could start to pop up. And it could do some serious reputational damage. I don't know, like, what are your thoughts there, Crayons?
Well,
can I just quickly add some context to why Rory's come after me? Because I find that really relevant to that question.
Yeah, you can jump in there, and then we'll get back to Warren.
Yeah, because basically I was watching a stream, and Rory, like at the protest the other day, Rory just made a comment of, "I'm going back to the UK to talk to lawyers." I just made a comment of, why is he talking to lawyers? Is Rory got something going on? Is he in trouble? What's going on? That's all I said. And I posted a clip of that. And then he unblocked me, left a reply, like, "I'm going back to leave a character reference. You could have asked me, idiot." And I'm like, well, I couldn't have, because you had me blocked. So, but anyway, cheers, Rory. And then he's come at me again today. And he hasn't engaged with me for like 3 years. So I'm like, why does that have you freaking out, Rory? Interesting.
Yeah, and I've never had a problem with Rory. He believes what he believes. He's doing what he needs to do to protect his guys. I've read enough. I've seen enough witness statements and alleged victim statements and prosecutor collected evidence that's come off of forensically extracted off of their devices. I've seen enough to know what's going on, and I can quickly identify when somebody's bullshitting or somebody's trying to twist things or whatever. So I see it, I acknowledge it, but to me, he's never been someone where I'm like, oh, this guy's a problem. Myron, on the other hand, Myron has a massive following, and it's just a mass spreader of misinformation. If you are getting Tate's case information from Myron, boy, you've been led astray. Holy shit! That guy's an absolute embarrassment. But to your question, Nathan, I had some of you might remember this. There was a woman who came on to a space that I was holding. I don't know if it was 2023 or 2024, who was married to a war room guy. And she said that she had already been interviewed. I believe she said it was by Homeland Security, or it could have been the Department of Justice. I don't remember. But they were asking her about the bigger scope conversation about the war room and members. So based on that, assuming that's true, and she's credible, she has no reason to lie about that. Assuming that's true, then that means at least at one time there may have been an investigation into the war room itself. But we also know that the Department of Justice is also investigating the Tate brothers for at least human trafficking. We know that because that came up in a document. There could be other things going on as well, but we only know the investigation for human trafficking. So that could be connected. There could be something bigger going on. I said it in the last time we streamed. I think it would, the Department of Justice has an opportunity to do something really funny in the event that Tates were able to get Marco Rubio to not extradite them to the UK. And it wouldn't surprise me. Listen, seeing how prepared the Department of Justice was in that last response and how thoroughly they dug into everything, even using the Internet Archives, it wouldn't surprise me one bit in the freak chance that Marco Rubio says, well, I'm not going to extradite these guys, if the Department of Justice pounced on him and charged him right there. That would just be, that would be the biggest backfire probably in the history of backfires. Okay, we're not going to the UK. Cool, we got you here. We're going to prosecute you for all these things. That would be something. But I would be nervous. Listen, if you're a war room guy and you have women working on OnlyFans or working on webcams and you learned your methods of doing so through the war room and from these guys, I would be very worried because they've been charged in 2 countries for allegedly doing this. And we know that Vlad Obu had similar methods. He's facing criminal charges as well in Romania. And several young men with him were also charged. And I believe 1 or 2 of them were also war room members. So,
yeah.
Well, I would be nervous.
I mean, they're in solitary confinement in America right now. That's kind of wild to think it was, just a bit over a year ago that they were, just traveling around, going to Las Vegas, going to LA, going to UFC. Yeah, I mean that would you would think that would scare a lot of people. James Hewitt, 10 Jules, thank you. We've got a super chat here from Adrian Cole. Thank you, Adrian. So what actually went on in Romania for all those years in regards to the webcam stuff involving Andrew Tate and his brother? What actually happened? I don't know how succinctly you want to answer this.
Yeah, I'll tackle that. I'll tackle that one. Now, prosecutors in Romania are alleging that the women, or I'm not going to say all women, but a significant portion of the women who work for them in Romania were lured into that business through the Tate brothers using what they call the lover boy method. And prosecutors allege that they used this method to make these women believe that they were going to be in a romantic relationship with them. Some of them, that they were even going to be their wives. And then they were manipulated and coerced to go actually work in the adult industry. Now, the jury's out on if that's what actually happened, but that's what prosecutors have alleged. And it aligns with what Tate said in his own videos and how he was communicating with guys that we've seen in the chat messages in the war room. And we've seen the forensically extracted chat messages that prosecutors took off of their devices and put in Romanian documents. Like, all of that aligns. So that's, according to prosecutors, that's what's happened in Romania. There's a right way and a wrong way to manage or, find people to work in the adult entertainment industry. The right way is not to mislead them, not to pay them unfairly, not to take the majority of the money, not to put them in situations where they can't quit or they're afraid to quit. This is what prosecutors have alleged. It's a straightforward thing. Okay, you're going to work. I can help you with marketing. We have a contract. I'm going to pay you fairly. This is what you're going to get paid. You're not being threatened. You can quit at any time. You're going to get paid in full, etc. There's a right way to do this. What you can't do is you can't mislead someone to make them believe that something else is going to happen, and then you push them into this other thing, right? It's the same thing with like Dubai, for example, has a problem with human trafficking when it comes to hiring people or bringing over people from developing countries to build their buildings. There's a lot of reports that say that those people get trapped over there. They're brought over under certain circumstances, but then once they get there, they find out that those circumstances are not accurate, and they're not going to get paid anywhere near they're going to get paid. Their hours are going to be longer. They're going to be working in unsafe conditions, and that's human trafficking, right? You can have a straightforward employment contract and you uphold your side of the contract. That's not human trafficking. But when you mislead someone to believe that something else is going to happen, and then you put them in the situation to where they're either, and the argument is, well, they paid everybody. Yeah, I have no doubts that some women did make money. I also have seen witness statements where they've said some women gave them all of their money, 100% of their money. I've seen witness statements where women were afraid to quit, where they put them in financial situations, according to prosecutors and how they've put their case together, that they put them in a financial situation to where they're not making enough money, or in some cases, no money, and they can't quit. It's called financial exploitation, where you've painted them into a corner, so to speak, and they can't go anywhere. We've also seen statements in the Romanian indictment, and I'm sorry, another, not in the indictment itself, in another Romanian document, where witnesses are alleging that some women were blackmailed and they were threatened that they were going to tell their parents what they were doing if they didn't, or if they wanted to quit. And then we all know the one alleged victim who, Mircea Barbu covered this very well, and he did a follow-up with the police. But one woman tried to quit, and we've seen in chat messages in the Romanian indictment that Tristan apparently told Luana and Georgiana, the two women who were working for him, to get her stuff, throw her out, hit her if you have to, is what the message said. And then Georgiana allegedly went and beat the hell out of her and threw her out. And the woman went to the police, asked for help. And Luana was a former police officer, and they persuaded her not to pursue this, and then had essentially Luana come back to get her from the police station, which is terrifying if you think about it. You try to get away, and the police call the person you're trying to get away from to come and get you. So because of that, there's a separate case in Romania for Georgiana and Tristan. They pulled that apart from the main case, and now they have a separate standalone case just for that, due to the statute of limitations. Because if they don't do something with that soon, the statute of limitations will run out and they'll have to drop it. So we have all this stuff that we've seen in documents, right?
That one as well in that instance is important, because there's also charges related to that with Georgiana and Luana, where they even allegedly got these other girls who were working for them and pretty much sat them down and accessed the girl who was attempting to flee the computer and sent her pornography that they made. So they sent the pornography to her friends and family, correct me if I'm wrong, and showed the other girls allegedly that this is what happens if you try and leave.
Yeah. So what it was, to be precise, while she was gone, she got the woman's laptop. She opened it up and she took the pornography that she had. I'm assuming it was for OnlyFans. Took the pornography and sent it to friends and family and guys that she knew. And she did it, according to the document, she did this in front of the other girls and said the next one's going to get it worse. This is after she kicked the girl's ass. So Mircea Barbu did a follow-up to this to figure out, what really happened with the police. And the police involved in that whole thing were reprimanded. It was a slap on the wrist, but they were still reprimanded for how they handled that situation. Somebody left and they went for help, and they essentially sent them back to the people they were trying to get away from, which is just terrifying. And they threw her out of the house, according to the documents. They threw her out of the house half naked. She wasn't even fully clothed, according to the documents. And in addition to everything else, they've both been charged with a Romanian offense called influencing statements, which is witness tampering. And prosecutors have alleged that, I want to say just 11. I think it's around 18 women or so, give or take. I don't have that exact number in front of me. I think Tristan had, I want to say 11 or 12 women, and Andrew might have had 6 or 7 women where prosecutors are alleging that they bribed or threatened or offered financial things like property in exchange for not cooperating with the police. So they've already been, according to prosecutors, caught in that environment to where they're trying to influence people involved to not cooperate with the police. So when you hear things like the UK is not giving them the information that they need for the women's names in the UK, I think that's the right decision. That's the right decision to not give them the names. They will get the names when they're in the UK, but they're not going to get them beforehand. And that's an important distinction to make. They know the details. They know the details. They have all that. They just don't get their names because of things like this. And for those of you who don't know, one of the filings that Tate's legal team filed with the U.S. court recently, I'm going to say it was an accidental oopsie, but they essentially doxed, or they released, they disclosed all of the names of the Romanian alleged victims and some of the witnesses in that case. There's a huge list. There was like 60 something people that they disclosed all of their names in that document. And then they had to come back like a day or two later and redact that document and then file a new document that didn't have those names. So the irony is they say things like, well, nobody knows any of the names of the alleged victims. Nobody knows their names. Nobody knows their names. Your lawyers literally listed all of their names in a federal document. So they know the names of who's involved in Romania. And in that case, there is a woman who was from the UK. There's a woman who was from the USA. And they put all their stuff out there. As such, Jane Doe in Florida has now asked for sanctions against Tate and his legal team for putting her name out there again. There's a protective order, so they're supposed to refer to her as Jane Doe, but they put her name out there again and put her passport number and expiration date and all that information out there again in this document. So, I don't know how the judge is going to rule on that, but they're asking for sanctions for that. So they know who these people are.
Yeah, well, I mean, Will Pullholes, one of their lackeys, he had a website up just recently where he was trying to dox, all of us and people who are covering this, so it's kind of.
Well, I think it was one woman. He put one woman's name and her husband's name and her child's name up there. And it wasn't even the right woman. And his justification was, well, why is this other woman pretending to be this girl? I mean, just absolute insanity. But all the others, me, you, Gadget, everybody else involved in the case, the way he had it written, it was implied that he was going to release everybody's names. It was implied. And it was also seen as threatening and as intimidation. So there was a reason why it was taken down. And I actually have, well, I may or may not have that page being viewed at all times, looking for just one slip. Will.
I'm interested with what are the potential ramifications when it comes to the discovery with the civil suit. The whole Candace Owens thing. I'd love to know the communications between the Tate cam and Candace Owens dating back.
If there's an agreement between them, if there's like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to run this campaign, we're going to do this stuff, are you in? And she's like, yes. And here's what we want you to say. Here's the document. If that sort of agreement can be found somewhere in an email or a document, yeah, I mean, Candace could end up on the hook for that. I don't know how strong that would be, but if that agreement is made, that's conspiracy. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Listen, this information about, what all their accounts are, who are their agents, how much money they've made, who owns this, who owns that, your involvement in the webcam industry, your involvement with OnlyFans, all the accounts that you have, like, man, this is just an open book that the judge has essentially ordered. Like, you have to give us all of this information, and you have 30 days to do it. They might be able to ask for an extension due to their circumstances, but they have to provide that information. So they're in a pickle. All this information gets released, or and what are they going to do? Partially, like, I don't know. Like, no matter what happens, the judge has ordered them to do it. So I think this is a situation to where Jane Doe has an upper hand finally on this case. It's been an uphill battle. But I think those of you who have been following it and understand what's happening and understand the process. You know, like filing a motion and getting it, you know, okay, well, they didn't dismiss the case, and the judge didn't allow this, the judge didn't allow that. It can look like, wow, she's losing this case. But you don't lose during the pleading process. You're not losing the case. Yeah, it might not be going great for you, but you're not losing it. You know, it's won in trial. It's won if it's dismissed, right? It's won if you actually win. You don't win discovery. But I would say she has the upper hand, because the fact that they're fighting this information, or they did fight this information and the judge had to order it, tells me that there's information they don't want to to get out there. So we'll see.
Did you see Candace Owens' response to the Tate brothers?
Is this a new? Is this a new one?
You probably saw it. It was the one from a couple of weeks ago.
Just gonna dig into it, eh?
I want to just play it. I mean, because it's brief, but I think it's very interesting that it took her 3 weeks to respond, and the only reason she responded was because someone directly asked her. So it's just brief, but I kind of want to play it because she's been one of the top ones who's been running cover for him. So I think her response and how little she says is a little bit telling. Anyway, let me play it. Can you hear this all right?
I cannot hear it.
Can you hear that, Gadget?
No audio. No audio.
Give me 1 sec. Let me start again.
Inevitable. You are figuratively walking a plank. Charlie was betrayed. You can't spin that. For some reason, those two concepts for you are synonymous. Finding out who killed Charlie Kirk is akin to taking down Erica Kirk. Why is that? Why is that? That's what we're getting from you. Ben the Beast writes, huge fan of yours and Andrew Tate. I love the interview that you did with him. What are your thoughts on his most recent arrest? In my opinion, it's another Matrix attack. Keep up the amazing work. So I had gotten very, whenever I comment on things, I always want to take the time to read files and understand what's happening and offer my, I guess, non-legal perspective. I'm definitely not a legal professional, but I do feel like I understand legal documents. And I was very much involved in reading through his Romanian documents when the charges were against him. And I said, this case is going to fall apart. And people came at me and were like, how could you? And then the case fell apart. I had never seen such clear evidence that the girl, there were actual literal text messages in WhatsApp of her describing what she was doing and trying to get a free ride to Paris or London. And so I gave my opinion on that because I felt like my opinion was educated. I have not had time, given everything that's going on, to look into the UK case. I always felt like Romania was kind of holding him because the UK wanted them. And so I've just been, the only thing I know right now are the headlines, which is this is a case from just like Russell Brand. It's a long time ago. I need to go through the documents, and I am intending to do that and to give my opinion on what's actually happening in the UK. Obviously, it is utter madness that Andrew and Tristan Tate are in solitary confinement, and we are living in a time where he got taken in Florida, the home of Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein just lived the greatest life there. Nobody that is a part of the Epstein network has been taken down. In fact, they have been covered up and have been protected by this administration. And so my mind just goes to just that understanding immediately that if any government was actually committed to taking down traffickers, the entire Epstein list and the people who were benefited and had relationships with Epstein and went onto that island would be exposed. And yet they are in power. So there's that.
Anyway, that was it. So I'm not sure what you think of that. Do you remember how thoroughly and well she covered it?
She may have had the absolute worst take and misinformation filled video of anyone out there. The way she covered it made me I came to no other conclusion, and it's my personal belief that she was absolutely given bullet points and told how to frame it, said what to say, and she made a video about it because it was so hilariously wrong. Was she even offered, hey, if you think I'm wrong, debate me. I offered to debate her, and then she blocked me.
Every piece of evidence that she used was literally just reading from the Tate's lawsuit against Jane Doe. That was it.
Yeah.
Gee, if you read from our lawsuit, we'd sound like horrible people too. Their lawsuit against us, I mean.
Yeah. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know, until there's a decision, a claim in a civil lawsuit, it's just a claim. It's an unproven claim. So when you hear people say, well, I can sue you for anything. Yeah, you can in the United States. That's the problem. You can sue pretty much anyone for anything in the United States. That's why there's so many lawyers in the United States, an absurd level of lawyers with billboards everywhere. It's absurd. It's not the case for criminal charges, and a lot of people get that confused, especially Tate fans. Like, I could charge you for anything. No, you can't. In order to get a criminal charge, you require some level of evidence, and in UK, it's a higher level of evidence, and it actually has to pass the full code test. So there has to be enough evidence in the UK to where prosecutors believe that there's a reasonable chance, a reasonable prospect of a conviction. So it's a pretty high level in the UK to get charged with these crimes in the UK. So no, you can't charge anyone for anything. You can sue anyone for anything. And you can say anything you want. Like, to read through our claims, they make the wildest claims that have just made me laugh in some cases. It's not even remotely close to being true. And you can just say anything. But when the time comes, they have to back up those claims. And this is the thing. You have to back up. Whoa, what does that sound?
What am I hearing? Is that just me? Is that you?
Just me? You're there you go. So any of the claims that you make in a civil suit, if it actually goes to trial, or if it comes to that point, you have to prove evidence of those things, or they're not going to stick. So you can have 1,000 pages of just the wildest claims you've ever seen in your life, but you still will have to back them up at some point. And that's the case with the Jane Doe situation. You can make the most outlandish claims that you want, but you're going to have to back them up at some point. And referencing civil claims, civil pleadings, like unproven, like that's not proof of anything. People say, "Oh, well, here's proof of this," and that's not evidence. That's not case. You can't take that and go to a criminal court and say, "Okay, here's evidence that this thing happened." They're just unproven claims. Now, if they're able to prove those claims later on at a trial, it's a different story. But during the pleading process, you can literally sue anyone for anything. I could sue Candace Owens right now I could just come up with 10 different bizarre fucking reasons to sue her and then sue her. It might get thrown out of court depending on what state I choose, the jurisdiction, or I might be able to tie her up for the next year or 2 years just with bullshit. I mean, I'm not going to do that, but the U.S. court system is wild. And Florida has, I believe, one of or the weakest anti-SLAPP laws in all of the states, which makes it more difficult to get a case dismissed early.
I thought it was very interesting. I mean, you're talking about when they came to America last year, Ron DeSantis said they weren't welcome, and the Attorney General said they'd be, investigating them. She immediately launched into a emergency live stream with Andrew Tate, where he just, that's when he did the infamous, "You think I don't wipe my phone every night? You think I sleep with a phone full of evidence?"
He was unhinged.
I off the top of my head, her response, I think it's just quite interesting, because I think we're starting to see some of these figures that rallied around them begin to distance themselves.
I find it very telling that she had to be prompted to bring it up, and just vaguely threw out she might look into it. Like, if this was 2 years ago, she would have had 3 videos out. She would have interviewed Joseph McBride. So she's one of those ones that have definitely distanced herself, at least it looks like so far.
Yeah. A part of me, this is just pure vibes and feelings, which is legitimate evidence. in Candace's world. It's, you know, there's something to me about them being potentially extradited to the UK, where the husband has you know, all of his family. You know, that to me, I think maybe is a little bit too close to his home. So, but I don't know, that's me purely speculating. We've got
So there's one thing I want to say really quick. I made some notes when I was coming in here. And I forgot to mention earlier regarding the discovery in the U.S. defamation case. So one of the things that she was asking for were surveillance videos when she was there of their warehouse and the other residence where she was actually kept. Apparently, they had a different house where, so the women would apparently be in this one house, and the Tates had their own house, and they went there for parties or whatever, and they would come back and stay in this other house. So she asked for surveillance videos of their house and the other residents, and they objected to that. Tate objected to that and said that it's irrelevant and that they already produced everything they had. But even though publicly they're saying that same footage, where they're objecting to showing it to the U.S. court, they're claiming that it exonerates them, but yet they won't produce it, which I find absolutely hilarious. Yeah, you have to keep in mind, for everybody listening, especially if you're a Tate fan who's bought into all this stuff, you have to understand there are two things happening. There's a public PR campaign that's happening to where they're just saying the wildest shit imaginable. They're just, I seriously think that sometimes they're just like sitting in a room just thinking, well, what's the wildest shit we could possibly say, and these dumbasses are going to believe it, because there's a PR move that's happening, and then there's a whole nother thing that's happening in court, and those two things are not aligned. You know, publicly they're saying, well, this has happened and we caught her. She was paid $30,000 for this, or these NGOs were paying this, or it's fabricated. These prosecutors got caught, or the case was thrown out and there was no evidence, whatever. But that's not what's actually happening in court. You know, in court, they're yes, sir, no, sir. They're not bringing up any of that stuff in court because it doesn't exist. None of that stuff actually exists. They're not arguing that stuff in court. Publicly, it's, oh, prosecutors were caught fabricating chat messages and they did all this illegal stuff, but that actually didn't happen. And you can see the documents. All that stuff is public information that you can get from the Romanian court docket. None of that stuff is happening. Nobody ever accused them of fabricating chat messages or fabricating documents. None of that. None of it happened. Publicly, though, that's how they keep people on their side. It's a conspiracy. It's the Matrix. The world is out to get us because we're telling guys to do push-ups or whatever it is that they're doing. And it's just not what's happening in court. In any court.
We got super chat from Noah Bennett. Thank you. He asks, how is Tate able to fly under the radar for so many years in Romania when he did the webcam operation? What and when was the main slip up for him?
Well, Romania has a huge webcam industry. Huge. And we also know that Luana, one of his employees, worked as a police officer before she went to work for them. And we know that we talked earlier how there was one of the alleged victims who escaped. Well, no, she was thrown out half naked, went to the police for help, and they pushed her to not pursue it. And they essentially called Luana to come back and get her. So she tried to get away, couldn't get away, according to these Romanian documents. So number one, it's a very popular industry in Romania. Number two, the Romanian authorities, I think, are very relaxed. Number three, there could have been some local protection, possibly based on what happened in that particular police station. There could be some level of protection that was happening. And in terms of when the main slip up for them, that's hard to say, because we found in another completely separate Romanian case, and I have this on my timeline, they were at one time listed as being under investigation for bribery, pimping, and organized crime in regard to their casino business there. And based on everything I could read, it was actual prostitution is what they were listed for. I'm not saying they did it, but I'm saying that they were listed in another case as being somebody connected to this person that was also under investigation. If you go into my timeline and just search for pimping, you'll see that. And I have I think I have the link to that as well. So that might have been the first crack. That might have been the first crack. And then it put them on the radar. And then the second crack may have been when DCOT had to come and raid them in April. And keep in mind, there were 6 women that DCOT initially identified as possible human trafficking victims. And then they later added a 7th after their investigation. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, I think 1, if not 2 of them were involved in the webcam industry. The rest were OnlyFans. So people said, oh, the webcam industry had nothing to do with it. Yeah, that's not true. There was at least 1, maybe 2 in the first case that were also working on webcam. And we also know, because people love to say, oh, the Tate brothers haven't worked in webcam for so long. We also know that the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, which is a highly, highly respected group of journalists who they do deep dives into things like the Panama Papers and, you know, high level stuff. They have an article that I also linked to, you can find on my timeline, where they found documents from December. I'm sorry, when was it? They found documents that showed almost $3 million specifically for webcam from My Free Cams was sent to Tristan Tate's bank account, I believe in August 2022. And they were still involved in webcam at least until August of 2022. And we also seen tweets from Georgiana, who worked for them, in December of 2022, right before the raid. She was still advertising her OnlyFans content. In December, the same month that they were actually arrested, not raided, arrested. So based on all the information that we've seen in the Romanian documents, based on this investigation from the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, based on their own tweets from Yasmina, from Georgiana, and some of the other girls, they were still very active in the adult industry in 2022, with at least in August 2022, still receiving money from My Free Cams, which is a webcam company, almost $3 million worth. And you can search for that. Yep, he just found it. There you go, right there. So, you know, here's the thing. I'm not going to make a claim. I'm not going to say something and as confidently unless I have a way to back that up. If I can't back it up, I can say, well, I'm speculating here. I'm speculating, or I think this, or this is possible. But I bring receipts for everything. Everything. I don't have community notes. I've never been community noted. I've never been proven wrong about any of the information that I've shared. The only thing I did get wrong was that once their trial was ordered in Romania, I did not expect them to win an appeal on that. So I figured, and this was based on Romanian media who expected the trial later on in the year. Romanian media covered that. So I was like, okay, that's when the trial is going to happen. So I was wrong on when the trial was going to happen because he appealed and didn't go to trial. And I didn't think they would ever leave Romania, but I also didn't predict the United States government getting involved and giving them travel privileges so they could leave. But my information regarding the cases and everything that's happening, that's undefeated. I have receipts for everything.
It must be cathartic to see Romania providing America with proof of all the ongoing allegations. You know, we've even got Candace Owens here saying that, you know, the cases have fallen apart. So, you know, it must be a relief to be able to point and say like, look, see, I haven't been making all of this up. Here's definitive proof.
Yeah, all of this, you know, it's just a huge I told you so. Here's the thing. If you have been listening to Team Tate for anything case related, I regret to inform you that you have no idea what's going on. You have been fed so much nonsense from Tate's friends and other people from the real world and probably the war room and Tate's lawyers themselves. It's just not grounded in reality. Right? But if you are actually reading the documents, if you're actually paying attention, if you're reading the judicial decisions and all that comes with it, you'll know that there's a completely different thing happening versus what they're saying. Yeah, and Romania came through, like you said. And for everybody, oh, the case is falling apart and it was dismissed and there's no charges. So Romania sent they sent the Romanian original version and an official translated version of what's happening in Romania. And they have Andrew still on creating an organized criminal group. And I'm reading directly from the document right now. And number 1, creating an organized criminal group. Number 2, the translation is child trafficking. The actual charge is trafficking in minors. Number 3, human trafficking. Number 4, sexual intercourse with a minor. Number 5, influencing witness statements. Where's this other one at? Oh. Number 6, money laundering. Number 7, removal and hiding property from seizure. And number 8, repeated rape. And then Tristan has number 1, creating an organized criminal group. Number 2, human trafficking. Number 3, aiding and abetting the trafficking of minors, which is complicity to trafficking in minors. Number 4, money laundering. Number 5, removal of hiding property from seizure. And number 6, influencing witness statements. I feel like I missed the one from Andrew from influencing statements. No, number 5 for Andrew, influencing statements as well. And he has, okay, for influencing statements, as I mentioned earlier, Andrew has 7 material acts. So 7 instances there for witness tampering. And Tristan's for witness tampering is 12. So that's what's happening in Romania. Nothing fell apart. Yes, there was a delay. Yes, the indictment was sent back due to irregularities. There was nothing about no evidence. There was nothing about falsified evidence. There was nothing about breaking the law. In fact, I posted several times recently, the judge itself saying that the indictment was legal and it was verified and it was legal, but there were procedural issues with it. So the amount of misinformation and disinformation circling the Romanian case, and now it's starting to happen with the UK case, is just through the roof. I almost feel bad for Tate fans. They're out there doing push-ups based on lies that they've been told from people who are surrounding the Tate brothers, embarrassing themselves, proudly posting photos of themselves together. Like, good luck getting a job. You guys better become self-employed multimillionaires, because listen, this stuff is going to follow you forever. Forever.
I think honestly, I think there's a fair amount of them that could not care less whether the Tate brothers are guilty or not.
I agree.
I'll
be right back.
Yeah. I don't think they could care less. I think even if they knew that the Tate brothers were guilty, I'm not saying that they are, but if they did somehow find out, I think they would still go along with the lines, the talking points that they're being put out. Not all of them, but a good deal of them. I don't know. What do you do? I mean, how much interaction do you have, Gadget, with actual Tate fans?
Quite a lot, quite a bit. Some more pleasant than others. I always try to keep it civil when I can, but I definitely agree. Like, I've always seen it as 2 kind of categories of Tate fans. Some that are maybe just brainwashed and misled and just cannot believe they have done anything bad. And then the ones you speak of, the ones that just don't care. They maybe understand what the Tates are alleged of doing, don't care, probably think it's based if they have. And I think since the supporter base has dwindled, it's a much higher percentage of the second category that we're seeing out there at the moment. And it's funny you mentioned that. When I was streaming the so-called protest the other day, and Myron literally said, it doesn't matter if they're guilty. Like, he doesn't care. Like, he literally said it. And that's the mindset of some of these people. It doesn't matter. It's not that they're guilty. It's that I like these guys. They're strong. They told me to do push-ups, so they shouldn't be in jail. And that's the extent of it.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
How would that be any different than all of the men who continued to do business with Epstein after his first conviction? We've seen this before. It's just a repeat of the same old, same old. So many
Yep.
men continue to befriend Epstein, to do business with him, to make money from him and everything else, even after they knew an actual conviction had come against him for some of the things he had done.
I think it's no different.
I see William Max in the chat. William Max in chat, who also has done incredible work. And I don't know, Willie, I don't know why you're not part of this lawsuit, mate. I don't know what's going on, but you should take it as a personal insult. Because you know, I think you have every right to be. But he's asking you, Gadget, you ever find out about Rory, Cynic guy? He talked on Myron's stream like he was charged with something as well. We talked about that before.
Well, yeah. To be clear, he didn't talk. So what he exactly said was that he's meeting with lawyers, and then I was just in the moment, it was live, remarking about what that was about. Like, I was just speculating, like, is he in trouble? Because when you hear someone's, especially someone associated, if you heard someone associated with Epstein is traveling back to the country to meet with lawyers, what would you think? That's how I was speculating. And he got really upset. He wasn't happy. I clipped it and I just said, what's this about? And he took it, and a lot of Tate's fans took it as me stating as facts that he was committing crimes or something. Well, that's not what the words in the video say, boys, but okay. And now, again, he's not come at me for 3 years, and now he's started unblocking me and then leaving snarky comments. But yeah, like what, as Just Me was saying, like, and maybe not all the fans, like there's probably some that are brainwashed that with severe help, there might be hope for them. I don't know. But like the close associates, like Myron and these guys, I look at them and I think the public should start thinking about them exactly as someone who was that closely associated with Epstein. Like, because again, the Tates have a right to a fair trial. They weren't convicted, but Epstein died before he was convicted of trafficking too. So I see it as very similar.
Yeah. I mean, the Myron guy, the influencers that are still defending them are, you know, I think they're pretty well moral degenerates, and you know, it says everything about the Michael Francesi. I kind of, I don't know what it is. I kind of just pity the guy because I do feel like he's bought it hook, line, and sinker. I don't know. I'm not sure. He just seems like he's just a complete dummy. I'm not sure. So he is one of those guys where when you know, if they are convicted, and I think there's a good chance that they will be at some point. I think he's one of those guys where he's going to be a little bit shell shocked that he welcomed them, you know, into the same circles with his, you know, wife and his daughters.
So my issue with Michael, with Franzese, or Franzese, how you say his name, is a similar issue to what I have with Myron. They've both done one thing very similar, which is they've claimed to have read all the court documents, claimed to have read the indictment, all these things, and then completely lied about what's in them. So that I see as very malicious and very different to some people who might have been fooled. And I'm sure some people, and especially maybe not so much now, but before, I'm sure a lot of influencers were fooled. Like we've seen evidence of Tristan getting in one of the Krasenstein's DMs and trying to convince him of how innocent he was and all this. And I'm sure some of the more gullible ones were convinced by these things. But if someone's saying, like, I've read through everything and it says that the judge said there's no evidence, like off the top of my head, Michael said something like that, I'm like, okay, now we're like getting very malicious. Like that's very sus. You're just lying at that point. That's, you know, that's the thing. You are lying, and I think that's where you could read into that lie that, you know, that he has knowledge. I read into that lie that he's just a blowhard who's pretending to come across like he's well informed, but he's not. But you know. I mean, who knows? There's no love lost for Michael Francesi. Willie Max saying, you guys are getting sued because you dig up all the information influencers use to make vids on the Tates.
he sues a YouTuber, there would be a lot of outrage. He sues you guys. A lot of people.
That's happening. I agree, because one thing I was going to say, Willie, is I think you're too big for them to sue. Honestly, because people with big platforms can go to their audiences to a bigger extent than we can, and that's part of the reason why.
You can use it for engagement. You know, definitely. No, I mean that's honestly, it has been hard to get people to actually cover this lawsuit. We've had more. I'd say that we've had more coverage in mainstream media than in alternative media.
By the way, shout out to Willie who's one of the ones that did.
Willie for sure. Everyone, go to Willie's YouTube. He just did a video recently where he did cover it. So as I'm saying that, Willie did cover it. So we appreciate it. He's got great videos and a whole bunch of stuff. It's been hard to get people to cover it. I think there's a couple reasons. I think people are afraid of the litigation aspect, that they don't want to be sued. But also I think it's the other thing where it's because the Tate brothers haven't really addressed it. It's hard to actually get it out there to prove like, no, this is actually real. This is happening, and it's absolutely absurd. But also, I think for a long time, the Tate brothers were kind of just irrelevant, in my opinion. I think they really dipped in relevance from especially like pretty much all of last year. I don't know. Are you feeling that with their fans? Because I hear that personally. Like anecdotally, I hear that with like young people, that the Tate brothers are just kind of, it's not even the criminal thing. They're just cringe at this point, so they're just kind of old. And it looks so desperate and so pathetic. Andrew Tate trying to cling on to like clavicular and try and get in with like these younger,
that was embarrassing.
It doesn't look good.
Really
I don't know. What's your thought, guys?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So it's been, like you said, a massive fall off with relevance and with influence over the youth. And I think that's just been a series of things. I mean, part of that has happened over the years when their legal troubles have gotten worse and a section has woken up each time that's happened. But then there's been a series of things since then. The boxing match was just a massive blunder that, for his persona, someone who claimed to be a legit 4-time world champion kickboxer, to expose himself by getting beaten up by a TikToker with pink Hello Kitty boxing gloves, and for people to start then looking at his actual kickboxing record and realize he was a joke and a fraud. That was devastating for him. And then the Hail Hitler thing where he threw Sneeko under the bus, and that was embarrassing because whatever you think of any of those people, it was on video that Myron at Fresh and Fit played the song, and Tate's up there saying, Sneeko did it. Sneeko did it. It was Sneeko. And the whole internet was just like, what? No, he didn't. Why are you saying that? And it just made a fool of him. And it's just gone downhill since then. The part of his fan base wasn't happy that he said they have tech teams in Israel. So that lost a section of them for the type that don't appreciate that. For the group that don't appreciate that. And so by the time this news roll around, I agree that they were just completely irrelevant and just lolcows. There was already starting to be a bit of a network, or I don't know, a bit of a I don't know. There's like a role to, there's a lot of people on YouTube starting to just make a living off of Andrew Tate lolcow videos. And that kind of helped my channel pick up a bit when they became irrelevant, when I was making videos about the kickboxing careers and stuff, fights and stuff. So, yeah. So, and we're seeing that now, I think, with the amount of support and accounts and influencers wanting to jump on board, defending them. And it's just nothing like it was when it happened 3 years ago. And it's just...
yeah.
It's kind of great to see in a way.
I mean, they're all in on Donald Trump. in many ways, that seems like it's their only hope of avoiding extradition. I mean, based on just, McBride, their lawyer, and what he's saying. So I think there's that element as well, that Andrew Tate, I mean, he was seen as someone who was so subversive and unafraid to tell the truth. But it feels like he's absolutely shackled to Donald Trump, and he's completely unable to criticize Donald Trump in any way whatsoever. So I think that's quite interesting in this political climate today, because it was fine when Joe Biden was president. He could go to town on that. But now it's like Trump, and now he's in America, and now he's in solitary confinement in America. And I mean, all of his useful connections are, to do with the Trump administration. So there's an element of that where then you have someone like Sneeko, who can absolutely go to town with him on all these, on all these different other things that Andrew Tate has to just toe the narrative line with. So I think that also hurts him.
I think it's ridiculous. But go ahead, Gadget.
I was just going to say, just real quickly, but with the Trump issue, that's where McBride is not helping, because he cannot keep his story straight. One minute he's going to go to Trump and ask for help, and then the next minute he's just tearing into the Trump DOJ and calling all the people working at the prison, they're all fat and they all hate me, and they're all and he's just calling the DOJ people writing up the court documents slurs. And
what did he say about Marco Rubio? What did he threaten?
His son.
So he said
He threatened his
that,
son.
So what he said was that he has a son that plays college football, and he could have women say things about him or something along those lines. And now I think he's that dumb. I don't think he meant to threaten him, but to the general public, because he meant it in the Andrew Tate context of like, this could happen to anyone and anyone could have accusations. But to the general public that doesn't know the Andrew Tate talking points, they're like, was that a threat? What the hell was that? And so this is where McBride is just making everything worse, I think. He's just making a fool of himself. And I think just knowing what the little I know about Donald Trump, I think just making Donald Trump furious with the demands and the things he is saying.
Yeah, I don't know. What were you going to say, Crayons?
Oh, I just think the whole thing is ridiculous, that they want to get the president of the United States involved. Like they're like, due process. Listen, the fact that you're allowed to argue for bail, that you're allowed to have counsel, that you're allowed to argue against extradition, like that is due process. You are given due process. There's no violation of due process taking place right now. But the fact that you're trying to, or that you're saying that you're going to get the president involved, you're asking for special privileges at this point. You're not asking to be treated like everybody else. You're asking for the president of the United States to get involved because you think you deserve special privileges. And I think that's absurd. And Willie Mack is in the house, and he brought up a great point too. He says it's a bit of an oxymoron to claim that the government is super corrupt and then turn around and beg Trump for help. Right? And an interesting thing about what's happening now, and there's so much misinformation being shared around. So they're being held in U.S. federal custody under what's called a provisional arrest. And a provisional arrest is where one country says, we're going to extradite these guys, or we're going to request extradition, and we want you to hold them in the meantime so they don't go anywhere. It's lawful. It's allowed. And that's what they're being held right now. And we know that the DOJ in their latest filing had said that they're given special privileges already in the facility. They're not being held like normal detainees because they're not being punished. The hold that they're under, the detention, is administrative. So they said because it's administrative and it's not punishment, they're allowed special privileges. They're allowed to have visits. They're allowed to have phone calls, etc. So they're not being treated like a normal prisoner. So this whole thing that they're being denied their rights and all this stuff, it's just, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And that's why the DOJ called them out for that. But the argument that they're going to have to make in bail, normally, if you are in jail for a crime, right? You've been arrested, you've been charged with a crime, you're in jail, then you can request bail, right? You can request bail. And a lot of people will get bail. But in the case of extradition under a provisional arrest, bail is assumed against. So it's not like when you're charged and you're put in there and you're like, okay, I'm going to post bail, I'm going to get out and go to trial. That's not the case here. For a provisional arrest for extradition, bail is presumed against. And in order to get out on bail, they have to prove what's called a special circumstance. And another thing that they are spreading online, which is nonsense, is saying that, well, they're not a flight risk, and they went to all of the Romanian hearings, so therefore they're not a flight risk. Well, law is settled on this. Not being a flight risk is not a special circumstance. This is settled law. Not being a flight risk is not a special circumstance. A special circumstance could come from a medical condition or some very important reason, right? Like say one of them is in there and their health just deteriorates dramatically, right? Or some sort of extraordinary delay in the extradition proceedings, where they can say, okay, this is a special circumstance because it's taken extraordinarily long, and therefore we're asking for bail. But just not being a flight risk by itself is not a special circumstance. But the story that they're pushing is that they've gone to all their court hearings and they're not going to go anywhere. They're not a flight risk. But that's not the argument. And the burden of proof is on Tate to prove special circumstances. So it'll be interesting. I can't say for sure. I don't want to say they're not going to get bail, but I know bail is unlikely. And I know several lawyers that I've seen, Florida lawyers specifically, that I've seen make videos about this, breaking down how things work. None of them believe they're getting bail. I'm not going to say they're not, because there's always that freak chance. There's always that 1%. I never thought they were going to leave Romania, but I didn't expect the White House to get involved. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards 99.99999% that they're not getting bail. And that tiny little wild card, just because you don't know. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You don't know what special favors are going to pull. But I know bail is very rare for this sort of situation.
What about Tristan Tate being hungry? Is that a special?
Oh, I love this. I love this. So the Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, and anyone can look this up for yourself. When you are in this detention facility, you're being fed 3 meals per day, in addition to your commissary, however you pronounce that, which I believe they're allowed to get once per week. So they're getting 3 meals a day. And you can actually read the menu. You can go to the BOP and you can see the menu of all the options that they have. Now, are they losing weight? Probably. I mean, if they're used to eating, let's just say 5,000 calories a day, and now their calories have been reduced to 3,000 calories a day, yeah, they're going to lose weight. That's how weight loss happens. But I find it interesting that Tristan knew exactly that he lost 13 pounds. Like, you have a scale, but you don't have food. That makes total sense.
Here's a bit of a rundown of some of the things they've had. Colombian coffee, all season chips, ramen noodle soup, turkey and Swiss combo stick. They got Twix.
God,
they eat more crap than I do.
Yeah. They're practically in North Korea.
But I love it. They're like, trying to pretend that they're political prisoners here,
Yeah.
wasting away.
They've been captured in Somalia, and they're fattening up the cockroaches on rice so they can eat the cockroaches. Yeah.
McBride was literally calling it a gulag. He was calling it a gulag the other day in the speech. Come on.
I just love it, because this is the same playbook that they pulled in Romania. That
I have a thread, Nathan. I have a thread, and I keep reposting it, where it's a Andrew Tate jail bingo. And I told everybody what was going to happen. I was like, here's what we're going to get. Because as soon as you saw that they were starting the same playbook, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to get. What we haven't had yet is a health emergency, but I suspect it's coming if they don't get bail.
Please try to fake cancer again with the DOJ. Please try that.
Yeah.
But this is where it's just this works in Romania because people don't know what the hell's going on in Romania, Yeah. And when they think of Romania, they think of this like it's some sort of third world shithole.
And let's be clear.
Corrupt from head to toe.
Let's be clear. Jail sucks. Jail isn't supposed to be a pleasurable experience. They're not. One of the funniest things the DOJ said in their filing was they said it's not a Marriott, but and yeah, that's true. Like you're not supposed to be living a comfortable life. It's fucking jail. It's jail. Like you were going to struggle a little bit in jail. Yeah, and yes, that facility has had complaints. All the facilities get complaints against them. It's jail. It's not supposed to be, they're not supposed to be in there ordering caviar and getting their steaks seared with the Tate brand on it and everything else. Yeah.
But that's where it's just like it doesn't work. It doesn't work in America, because you can just pull the receipts of what they're actually eating and just show it, they just come off as complete crybabies when they pull this here.
Yeah.
I can't wait for their response to the DOJ that's coming in the next day or so, whatever the time difference is. Because McBride was saying in his speech or talking to Myron, I think it was, that I'm going to expose that place. So I'm going to, I'm going to take that place down or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm like, what's he going to say? Either he's just not going to go that hard and he's going to look silly for that, or he's just going to make some absurd claims that cannot be backed up and he's going to look like a fool because of that. Either way, he's going to look like a fool.
He always looks like a fool, but the funny thing is that they wanted that trial to come, for the hearing to come to try to get bail until the Department of Justice filed their motion. And it absolutely, talk about taking, I think it took everybody by surprise. Even me, I read it and I was like, holy shit. They just leveled these guys. Like I can't imagine the absolute state of panic that hit his legal team after that motion was filed. It was a devastating filing, just absolutely devastating. They had all the Romanian information in there, certified documents from Romania talking about what's happening there. They had the UK information in there. They have Andrew's old tweets that they pulled up from the Internet Archive. They had the Vladimir Scorpius passport, which Joe McBride hilariously said, it's a cardboard prop. It's a cardboard prop for a Halloween costume. That when that was originally exposed, it was allegedly used allegedly in financial transactions. And Justin Waller said, well, if it's a passport, where's the stamp? Well, it was used for financial purposes and they're not using it for travel. There wouldn't be a stamp in it, jackass. And using a passport only for financial purposes doesn't actually help your cause of not being a flight risk. That doesn't make it better. All that shows that you have different identities. Like that just makes it worse.
Every Halloween, I love to just make passports out of cardboard and just put it in my wallet.
Me too.
Like, what does that mean?
Me too. I like to get like a nice 20-page passport made under some crazy James Bond villain movie name just for Halloween.
So
and
stupid.
And I don't want to show it to anyone. Nobody ever sees it until it gets exposed on the internet as being allegedly used for financial transactions. And then like, oh yeah, well that was a Halloween prop.
This Halloween, I'm going to go as Tristan Tate's Vladimir Scorpius passport. I'm going to have the window cut out.
As the passport. Yeah, that's good.
As the passport. Yeah.
And the passport, the picture is just Tristan. So what, he just dressed as himself and just had a passport? Like what?
Right.
But this is it's the Vladimir Scorpius thing. It's just it's like with the bank account names. Was it pimping? Was it poop? Was one of them? Was it?
Oh, yeah. What was that called? They had financial names, but they were the transaction names.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's one
Yeah, I
pimping.
forget.
There was one that was like poop. It was something like that.
Yeah. Willie Mack says, did you guys see McBride in one podcast say that the Tates are in jail for saying it's okay to be white? And then in the protest, he said they're in jail because they're black. I believe
I'm gonna have to.
My opinion on this, I totally my opinion. I think Joe McBride is so far out of his depth on this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one who told them it was safe to come to the US. And then they got picked up. So he's like just in an absolute state of panic. That's my opinion. Because he keeps contradicting himself. He keeps saying things that are just verifiably false. He keeps saying things that are hilariously false. And like Willie says, just changing your story back and forth, trying to make it a free. Listen, they're not being extradited to the United Kingdom because of things they said on the internet. It has nothing to do with free speech. Nothing at all. They weren't being prosecuted in Romania because of things they said on the internet. The Matrix is not attacking them because they expose the truth of the world. They're facing very serious, very real allegations in multiple countries, and now the UK gets them first. And Romania stepped up and said, we're not going to contest extradition. The United States gets to decide where they go. So Romania even tapped out while leaving their case open. They also said that they expect their indictment at the end of summer.
I want to let's just go to some super chats. We've got the fundraiser here, givesendgo.com/free speech versus Tate. I've got that linked top of my comments as well on YouTube. So if you can donate, all of this is going to a legal defense against the Tate brothers for literally posting just this stuff like this, all right. Got Subatupa, thank you. Is there anywhere where we can download and read all the Romanian court and DICOT files, or about Vlad Obu's files?
Good question. So Vlad Obu's files have been incredibly difficult to get because one of the young men arrested with him was a minor. So because there was a minor involved in the case, that's really difficult to get information. But we do know that trial has started. The Vlad Obu trial has formally started. It took them a while, but it started. In Romania, they just go to trial like once a month. And one day a month, they go to trial, and then they go to the next. It takes forever in Romania. Where in the US, you might go to trial every day, back to back to back until it's finished. In Romania, they just have once per day. Well, at least that's what's happening with Vlad. In terms of the DICOT files, you can get some of them online still. You used to be able to email them through the Freedom of Information early on. Romania's Freedom of Information Act, and they would send you redacted files, and every now and then they would send you an unredacted file, which was pretty reckless. But that used to be the old way. But now you can go to hold on, I gotta get the name of it. There's two places in Romania. I think it's called, give me 1 second. It's called what is it called? You know what? Go to my timeline. And I have links to, I think it's called Rejust. Rejust.ro maybe is one of them. Romania has two court portals. And in those, you can search for the case number, and you can get all the judicial decisions and all the arguments that the prosecutors are making. So you can see stuff from judicial control. You can see why the actual indictment was sent back. You can see a follow-up to that, where the judges were talking about what was admissible, what's not admissible, that the indictment was legal, and all of that. If you search my account for those files, I'll usually in the second post down, I'll have links to the sources. And I believe one of them is Rejust.
Yeah, I've got one.
Rejust.ro. Yeah, Rejust.ro is one of them. So you can get some up in there. You have to translate everything.
Yeah, this is one source here to the Rejust. .ro.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another one, and it's slipping my mind right now. I haven't used it in a while, but you can get all of the major decisions here.
All right.
And they stopped sending out documents through the Freedom of Information Act. Now they only give them to accredited journalists, but they were giving them out to anyone for like that first year, maybe even longer than the first year.
All right, Linda.
Which is crazy.
Thank you. Chris, you and Crayons helped me to see what a fraud Tate was, because around COVID he popped up and said the right things. I thought he was okay, but once you see it, also love the Rob Noor stream. Candace uses the same tactics. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean that's literally how I started on Candace, was through Andrew Tate. The first video I did on Andrew Tate, Candace was immediately flew to Romania and you know, did this just outrageous interview, and then Crayons and I did a response to Candace's follow-up where, as we were discussing, she just, it's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen, what she did to this alleged victim. And she did on the Daily Wire as well. Yeah.
Serban, I see Serban posting in here really quick. He says, I believe you mean portal.just.ro. Yeah, that's the other one. So one of them is Rejust, and then the other one is portal.just.ro. Yeah, there's two of them.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, cheap lady. What is the status of the Romanian cases now? And how is the timeline of things looking? You know, because there was that window of time, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 5 years that they had. But how does this all work now with the extradition to the UK? I mean, because I can't imagine that this just puts things on pause, but they can't try them without them being there. So how does this all look?
Well, I don't know the legalities of that, but some countries will have an absentia trial. I don't know if that applies to Romania. I have not looked into that. If there's a Romanian in here, maybe you'll know if that's the answer of that, meaning they can hold a trial without them. Their lawyers could represent, maybe they could video call in, that sort of thing. I don't know if that's available in Romania or not. But Romania is essentially taking a back seat to the UK at this point. Listen, if these guys are convicted in the UK of a large majority of what they're being accused of right now, if they're convicted, there's a good chance they're not going to see Romania again for decades. So that'll be interesting. You know, what happens to assuming that happens, what happens to their property, what happens to their house, what happens to assets in Romania, what happens to the cars that have been confiscated and then reconfiscated. Tate had them out on custody to take care of the cars. They were supercars. They needed maintenance. So what's going to happen to those? Who's going to maintain those? Who's going to pay for those? Yeah, you know, I think a couple of things are going on here. One, they're trying to get bail. Two, they're going to fight extradition. But if it gets to the point where they get extradited and they go to the UK, they're facing what, 50? How many is it? 50 something charges? What is it? Do either you know the exact number? 59 or something like that? It's a lot. They're facing 50 something charges. The odds of them beating all of those charges, I mean, good, best of luck. Best of luck beating all of them. And the UK had 60 days from filing the provisional arrest or requesting their arrest for the provisional arrest for the warrant. They had 60 days to send the rest of the extradition packet. There could technically be more coming. There could be more coming. And we also know that there's another investigation, another criminal investigation taking place in the UK for the 3 or 4 alleged women who, or the 3 or 4 women who alleged that Andrew raped them and assaulted them. So that could turn into something as well. So we'll see. So they have to clear everything in the UK first. if by some freak chance they're not convicted and they're walk free, then Romania could request their extradition. The problem is, I don't really know if the UK would extradite them to Romania, because Romania does have some questionable, abuse issues with their prisons. So, and overcrowding is a big issue. So I don't know if the UK would extradite them back to Romania. So it's tough to say. But if they make it to the UK, they have a huge battle ahead of them. 50-something charges. Like that's enormous. And there could be another case coming there as well.
Interesting. What is the how is the timeline looking for the extradition process? It's still early days. But if you were gonna take a ballpark guess based on what you've kind of looked into with similar cases, you're saying it's unlikely that they'd get bail. But let's say that if they were to get extradited, is there any idea of what the time frame would actually look like for that?
If they get extradited, I saw it may have been Matthew Jury or another UK lawyer say that realistically the trial would probably start in 2028 if they're extradited to the UK. So they'll have ample time to prepare a defense. This isn't going to be a situation where, they're extradited and they have no time to mount a defense and, their rights are being violated. They're going to have plenty of time to mount a defense there. In terms of extradition, it's hard to say. I've read varying things. It could take months. It could take a year. It depends. Like, they have the financial resources to really string this along, and they can appeal the decision. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think they can appeal that decision if it's decided to extradite them. So somebody says Romania does have trial in absentia. It says they tried and convicted a former mayor of Bucharest to 10 years for corruption, and he fled to Greece. So yeah, I guess that's a thing.
What's going on with McBride and AI?
Oh man!
Oh, the AI swap. Oh. Do you want me to link my posts of the videos he was posting? Did you see those? Did you see the videos? Oh.
Which one? I saw let me pull it up. I saw the throwing the tea. It's like, I think McBride just found out about American history. And so now he's all about, trying to, I don't know what. He's obsessed with the throwing the tea.
The throwing the tea is amazing. Yeah, he's obsessed with that. The fight for the Tates fight goes back to the Revolutionary War.
No extradition without Trump's permission. Americans first.
Oh God. Oh, it's so cringe. And there's a few others. Oh, it looks like you're in the thread there. I couldn't believe this. This is the thing I find amazing is he just requested an extension to respond to the Department of Justice, and he seems to have spent a whole afternoon making AI edit. Maybe someone sent them to him and made them before him, but I just love the idea that he just sat there all afternoon learning how to make AI videos and made this absolute slop and was posting it to defend his clients and embarrassing them.
It is. It gives
what I love?
rumor vibes.
How about McBride's latest embarrassment where he said that Andrew was quoting Steven Seagal?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
It just, seriously, listen, if you're a fan of the Tate brothers and you're just like buying into this stuff, like you probably, I'm guessing you have Velcro shoes because you can't tie your own shoes. Like they're saying the dumbest shit imaginable, and so many of these young men are just eating it up. Just licking it up like it's gospel. And it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
All right. So this is what he said. U.S. government actually argued that Andrew quoting Steven Seagal makes him so dangerous that he should be indefinitely detained. This is your tax dollars at work, clown world.
Yeah.
And
Didn't happen.
Eddie Tate tweet, I'm hard to kill and under siege, marked for death because I'm out for justice.
Okay, Tate. I think Tate's arranged for someone to post this on his behalf from jail. This was his priority that he thought would help somehow. Oh God.
So what is the, because I only just saw this before. So where does this come from? This idea that him quoting Steven Seagal, somehow they're arguing that he should be indefinitely detained.
I don't know. It was out of the blue for me. I don't know. Like some of the things, like it got to a point. At some point, I thought McBride can't surprise me anymore, but he never ceases to amaze me. Just the things he comes out with, like, I would not have predicted this or the AIT throw.
Dude, I mean, this seems like a 1-2. We should post Steven Seagal, and then McBride should come out and say, because I posted, I'm being, persecuted.
Can you imagine sitting in segregated detention in the United States, awaiting extradition to the UK, where if convicted, you could technically spend the rest of your life in prison with max sentencing for some of this stuff, or at the very least a decade or 2 or 4, while your lawyer is shitposting AI slop on the internet? Seriously, can you imagine? This guy's just embarrassing himself, embarrassing them. I've even seen Tate's friends say they got to get rid of this fucking clown. Like, what is this guy doing? Get rid of this guy. Like, these guys, their freedom is at stake, and he's shit posting AI slop on the internet. I don't even know what to think.
The thing I love is I'm convinced all of this is exactly what Tate wants. And he thinks
Probably.
It's awesome.
Yeah. In his mind, he might think this is cool. Like, hey, let's do this. And then, it's cool. And then we're going to be able to get a couple more months subscriptions out of the real world.
And just quietly, Tate says he can teach you how to be a millionaire from making AI videos. Play that video of Tristan.
I am Vladimir Scorpius from Mexico. I am James Bond. I own 44 yachts and 159 tequila companies. And I own X too. Elon is not the owner.
Sir, he is Bond and claims he owns X.
We need to investigate this immediately.
I am Vladimir Scorpius from Mexico.
Whose voice is that? Any 12-year-old could probably work out how to make a proper AI Tristan Tate voice. I couldn't. I'm a boomer, as the kids say. But
How many real world students do you reckon put that together?
Right? Listen, the most Googled man in the world and self-proclaimed billionaires can't get a couple of AI kids out of the real world to put together even a halfway decent AI slop video. Like, their lawyers posting this stuff. Seriously, like, can you imagine? And what's even funnier, Gadget, like you said, they're probably sitting in jail thinking, oh, yeah, this is good. This is what we want. Like, holy shit. Like, one of the funniest posts, I think it was Mukhtar or whatever his name is, he said they need to imprison Tate's lawyer too, just in case. They need to jail him too, just in case. Oh, that was hilarious.
I mean,
Willie. Good.
No. I just how long until McBride's disbarred? I mean,
it's almost like he's trying to get problems. I've seen multiple lawyers just like, what is going on with this guy? Like, this is not lawyers do advocacy, right? That's part of being a lawyer. You can represent your clients, you can do advocacy work. But what he's doing is, like, I don't even know what he's doing. I had no idea what he's doing. And Willie Mack says, and this is true, he says, back up here, where'd it go? He said something about McBride. Here he says, the funniest part about Tate's lawyer is that he has represented other people found guilty of trafficking. Yeah, he was on Keith Ranieri's appeal team, and they lost. And Ranieri is facing 150 years. He was sentenced to 150 years in prison, which is funny because McBride said he was talking about their charges, and he would say, I would never get involved with somebody like that. And he literally represented Keith Ranieri.
Yeah.
Convicted of trafficking. It's a shit show unlike any shit show I've ever seen in my life, but I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. This has become entertainment on a level that I never expected.
Well, but this is where it's just like they are not appealing to the general public at this point in time. They are just appealing to their, potential 10,000 students, trying to cling on to the life. Because you do not put out someone like Joe McBride if you're trying to appeal to the normies. That's not who you put out.
Man, 120 years. Thank you, Technana. Not 150, 120 years for Keith Ranieri. Yeah, you have Joe McBride talking about they're being persecuted like Jesus Christ. Like what? Like, oh yeah, that's going to win people over. Comparing them to Christ. There you go.
Chris, thank you. Cue the whole panel. What do we do about these narcissistic liars? The nature of the internet seems to favor them. Tate seems to be getting his karma, but it keeps happening.
The internet's weird. The internet's weird. You have to ask yourself, how involved you want to get. I think it's great to call people out, but you have to understand, I mean, look at us. We did the right thing. We haven't lied about anything. We've shared our opinions. We've shared facts. We've shared court documents. We've shared quotes from the prosecutors. None of us have community notes. Our information is solid, but we still ended up in a lawsuit. And and it's not just us. There's a whole bunch of people that ended up in a lawsuit. And you just have to ask yourself, are you willing to go to battle to try to prove some narcissist wrong, or because you want to expose them, or whatever your reasoning is. But the internet's full of narcissists, and unfortunately, it attracts them. Yeah, I don't know. I would say tread carefully. If you were to ask me, would I do this again? Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. I would do it again. I have very thick skin. I would do this again. I'm not worried about losing to them. We already beat them once. We're going to beat them again. We're going to beat them in every case. Even if there is a ruling that says, okay, you're allowed to, we're not going to dismiss this. We're allowed to go a little bit further. I'm still not worried because we'll beat them. We'll beat them. So I would just say, in terms of what do you do with the narcissist, you can either ignore them, or you can just call their bluff, call them out, call their shit. The internet's weird like that. Yeah, as Kim said, they even sued 2 lawyers. They sued one lawyer who, I think she's the vice president of the National Center of Sexual Exploitation, who's representing Jane Doe, who they're suing in Florida. And they sued Matthew Jury, who's a very well-respected lawyer in the UK, who represents the 4 women who have accused Andrew Tate of raping them. So it wouldn't surprise me, because we have the court date coming up. What is that? September what for the Second Amendment complaint? What date is that, Nathan? September
18th.
September 18th. So that's for the Second Amendment complaint. That's for all the named defendants. So that's you two, Matthew Jury, Gatelin, Misfit Patriot. Everybody's going to be part of that. It wouldn't, and I believe everyone is asking to be dismissed with prejudice. Being dismissed with prejudice is really tough for defamation cases. But if it's not with prejudice, maybe it will be dismissed with no leave to amend. which means that they can't actually just refile the same case. They would have to start over. But it wouldn't surprise me if the 2 lawyers involved get dismissed with prejudice, because it's just ridiculous that they're suing them. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, when you look at these narcissists, there's a question, did anything we do have any impact on Andrew Tate facing legal consequences?
No, nothing. Not at all.
In my mind, it was always going to end up at this place where eventually Andrew Tate, I believe, was going to have to face his alleged crimes. I think he can only run away from this for so long until he was going to end up in court. He still had a following, and he was still being platformed by people who had reputations and significant followings. And he was, I believe, effectively making the lives of his alleged victims difficult. So weighing it all up, I believed it was the right thing to expose him. And like you, I'd do it all over again. I even think of it in similar terms with Candace Owens. And exposing her, nothing she's doing is going to have any real world impact on the Tyler Robinson criminal case. But what she's doing is having a real world impact on Erica Kirk, on a lot of Charlie Kirk's loved ones and friends and family. And it's also, I think, seriously fucked up that she's got, the significant audience that she has. I think that's wrong, and I think maybe some of them are reachable. But this is where, weighing it all up, I think the truth is important, and these are areas where I feel like I can, battle lies and bad faith grifters and narcissists. So that's what I do. But it's not for everybody. I was just DMing with someone who was getting doxed related to this, and she was crying, and she's deactivated her account, and she's terrified. And it's horrible. Like it's horrible. It's not for everybody. There can be real world consequences, and that's what we're facing. So I don't know. You do what you have to do, but you got to pick your fights as well.
And it's just the right thing to do. I like to think of it like this. Imagine if, when Jeffrey Epstein was doing everything that he was doing, and you had the ability, or you were able to come across information that you were able to share with the public, where you knew it was telling the right side of the story that was different to what he might be saying or his buddies might be saying. I feel like some people would feel that there's an obligation if you come across that information that needs to be shared. And the argument of, well, why are you focused on Tate? I don't really talk about anybody else on my channel. I might retweet things about Vlad Obu, or I might retweet some things about some rapists, or Russell Brand being charged, or people convicted. But I don't focus on other people because I don't want to spread, well, number one, I don't have the time. Number two, I just don't want to spread my attention elsewhere. Focusing on one thing at a time allows me to have a better understanding of what's going on. Have that 10,000 view, looking upon all of the cases, and that's kind of my thing. But I feel it's the right thing to do. The information needs to get out there, because the other side of that information is just nonsense. And I think if a lot of other people that are listening right now had access to this stuff, they would do the same thing. It's just the right thing to do. I mean, yeah, we're in a lawsuit, but I don't fear the lawsuit. It's still the right thing to do. He can't win. It's a he fought a lawsuit that he cannot win. So
yeah, and that lawsuit is givesendgo.com/free speech versus Tate. So you can support us there. All right, let's play some more AI McBride swap.
I own 14 yachts. I have 44 passports in 300 different countries. I am an astronaut. Elon is the second trillionaire. I am the first. And technically, I own the moon.
Sir, he just claimed ownership of the moon.
Ha 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 ha. That's so funny.
I own 14 yachts.
Oh. But just in the context of like what he's responding to from the DOJ, it makes this so bizarre. Like he thinks it's a joke. Oh
yeah,
great job, Joseph. Keep it up.
And that's the thing. They could have made this to be really funny and really good and really entertaining. Like that technology exists. They literally teach AI in the real world, and they made what is arguably some of the worst AI slop I've ever seen in my life. It's not funny. It's stupid. It's stupid. Like this is just. And again, they're facing potentially life imprisonment if they're convicted. Decades upon decades upon decades of convicted, and this is what their lawyer's doing. Holy shit! Like, I would fire him. Just like I would see this, and I would be like, "Yep, you're out, dude. You're gone."
He's obsessed with the passports thing, like all of them.
Yeah.
Like find another argument. Like I don't know.
I didn't watch anything. Did you bother to watch the Andrew Tate's, the former PR, the interview with 60 Minutes?
I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen a couple of clips.
I watched it.
Did you? Was there anything interesting about? I mean, I think she's a pretty like despicable character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's horrible. Yeah, she's awful.
Yeah. There wasn't much. I don't think we learned a lot new as far as anything she said. But yeah, and for the chat, obviously, yeah, us three are in agreement of this. But for the chat, just to know like what she did for the Tates, it's really hard for me, and I think for all of us to look at her too favorably, I guess. I mean, all you need to do is look at that video of her when Matthew Jury, the lawyer for some of the alleged victims in the UK, and the lawyer for one of the alleged victims in the US, they went to Romania to do a press conference. This lady, right after she seemed to have got a nose job with this big thing over her nose, and the Tate's lawyer, her cousin, stormed the press conference, were yelling, were disrupting it like children. It's really all I can see of her is that. I find it very hard to not see her as that person. Some of she's given some very insightful things, like it's been interesting, some of it, and some of it seems plausible, like some of the things she said about what was happening with the Tates behind the scenes. So I guess I'm kind of glad she's come out, but yeah, she's a
despicable. She is a despicable human being. The only thing she could possibly do now, which she might do, is give testimony against him. If she were to give testimony, if she were to be deposed in the United States for that defamation case, that would be probably very destructive towards the Tate brothers. If she were to get involved, if she were to link testimony to the UK or to Romania, I think that's her only saving grace. It's not enough to tell her story. She needs to undo or try to undo what she did. And Willie says, do you think
she's saving it for a book? Sorry, mate. She's saving a lot of it for a book. She's saying too.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah. So we'll see. And Willie says, do you think Tate knows McBride is doing this? Maybe. I have my opinion that these guys are all of them are completely detached from reality. That's my opinion. They're all completely detached from reality. So they might be sitting in jail thinking that at any moment Donald Trump is going to open the door and welcome him to the White House or something. I don't think these guys are grounded in reality. So does he know McBride is doing this? Probably. Does he know how bad it's coming across? I don't know. Or maybe this is just a plan. Hey, McBride, you go out there and just make a mockery of this whole thing so we can just try to downplay what's happening. Like, it could be part of the plan. You know, throw McBride under the bus. He'll jump on the grenade, make a mockery out of everything, and then stay in the news, stay part of everybody's conversation. But yeah, but it's embarrassing. Like he's not doing them any good, in my opinion.
But this is, I mean, you're talking about Mr. Suicide. You know, you're talking about, so it's like cringe is Andrew Tate's brand. I don't see the messaging of McBride that far off from what they were already putting out. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it's whatever gets attention is really the aim of the game.
Do you? My opinion on this is Andrew strikes me as the type of narcissist who is, number one, self-destructive and doesn't realize it, or maybe he does realize it. Did you ever see the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can, where at the end he would like call the FBI agent every year on Christmas? Like he wanted to play the games with the police. Like right? Like that's the kind of mentality that I picture for Andrew Tate. Like, he thinks he's a genius, self-destructive tendencies. And he, think about all of the videos he made, all the tweets he made, talking about the shit that he was apparently doing. So courses on it. And then he makes videos saying, UK, come get me, UK. I'm in Hong Kong. Play those videos, pull those videos up, where he's begging for the UK to come and get him. He can't wait to go clear his name. And then the second they get him, oh my God, it's a totally different story. So I don't know. I don't know. I know his dad had some personality disorders or something like that, discharged from the military. It wouldn't surprise me if he's dealing with some of that as well, but who knows? Yeah, well, I always think of Andrew Tate. It reminds me of Goodfellas and the ending with Henry Hill, where Ray Liotta has to go into witness protection. And it's that whole idea of that this is its own prison and hell, because it's so just mundane compared to his life being a mobster. I think of that as Andrew Tate, whereas like the idea of Andrew Tate having to live a normal life and having to not, I believe, commit crimes, he just couldn't do it. I mean, we literally saw that with him going to America that last year. It doesn't appear that he could last a month without seemingly, allegedly, sexually assaulting a woman, getting into trouble for it. And that was him being a guest of Donald Trump. So yeah, the guys, that's what I'm saying. It's like inevitably he was going to always end up in court, and I think likely in prison. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Or like Denzel Washington in Training Day. The end where the Russians kill him, where it's like his time runs out. It's like that. Yeah. I mean, the guy was literally on Your Mom's House, one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and he's talking about the casinos that we mentioned earlier, and he was saying he's in business with the mafia, which it turned out was true. Yeah. I don't get it, man. But I agree. In my opinion, it was always leading to this. Like there was no other outcome but this. And it was always going towards this. And I believe that they thought that they were safe and secure in Romania because of the agreement that Romania had with the UK for those particular charges and that particular agreement. And they were led to believe that they were going to be safe. Come to find out, the UK has additional charges, and they made another agreement with the United States. So, yeah, I think they've been getting terrible advice. I think they should fire every lawyer who greenlit them and told them it was safe to go travel to the U.S. or do what they were doing. You know, even their own spokesperson, the one we were talking about earlier, she said they're unmanageable. That's the name of the book, Unmanageable. So perhaps even they were given advice and told not to come to the U.S., and they did it anyway. She also said in one of those interviews, she said that McBride told them the first time around that it was safe to come to the U.S., and then they got scooped up at the airport and all their devices were confiscated. So who knows? I don't know. I don't know if they're just some of the biggest idiots we've ever seen, or they're ignoring legal advice, or their lawyers are idiots. I don't know. I don't know. But it's
the thing is, like, after last time when their devices got seized when they arrived, for them to come back is just mind-bogglingly stupid.
Yeah.
Well, let me play this, because this is a reminder of how they choose their lawyers.
So before we found our lawyer, we met a bunch of lawyers here in Romania. We were like, look, I mean, speeding was a topic we brought up. And there was this, our lawyer's a G. Shout out to my lawyer. He is a G. But before we found him, we went and interviewed some bimbo in her suit who sat there and started talking about laws to us. Well, if you're banned from driving and you get caught driving, what's going to happen?
I don't go see a lawyer to talk about the law.
And she said, well, then you go to jail. And Andrew looks at her in the face and said, not if I have the right lawyer, I don't. And we left.
That's right.
What? You are telling me that I'm going to go to jail?
Then why am I going to hire you?
Failure.
I walked in there and said, listen, I've committed multiple felonies. Am I going to go to jail? Well, probably. Well, then see ya. Bye.
Why would I give you my money?
You're useless. I went into some other man. That was a female. I went to a man's office, said, I've committed multiple felonies.
There are things we can do. We could try this. We could try that.
No problem.
I make one call.
You don't go to jail.
There's no problem.
No problem.
We send somebody else to jail.
We send him. He is the new Andrew. He shave his head and he go. I'm like, oh, it's cool. That's the lawyer I want.
That's the lawyer I want.
Nobody wants, when you're talking to your legal clients, don't start talking Mr. Legal Schmiegel. Because you think you sound smart. Well, I went to law school and it says on page 40.
We don't care.
We don't care
about the law.
It says on page 48 of the Geek Bible that
Jesus Christ.
I'm a nerd, and then Scott Adams called me. No one cares.
How can you help me?
How much does it cost to make this all go away?
That's what we want to hear.
In hindsight, this is amazing.
Here's the thing I love about these guys. There's always a video or there's always a tweet. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always a video and there's always a tweet. Like, hey, we're Americans now. We are proud Americans. We support. Here's the video. Fuck America. America's a failed society. Fuck America. I escaped. Like, there's always a video or there's always a tweet. You know who these guys are? Like, they remind me of cartoon villains, like really bad cartoon villains. That's what they remind me of.
They remind me of Coen Brothers characters. I don't know if you watch Coen Brothers films.
No.
But they're like that. They're just complete morons, you know. But they think they're smart. That's the thing. They think they're geniuses. Yeah. They don't realize how, you know, absolutely just you know, complete morons they are.
Well, I mean, the fact that they're sitting in jail waiting to be extradited to the UK, where they could potentially spend decades or possibly even life if they're convicted, shows you how smart they are. And what's crazy is people still look to these guys. And I mean, look, okay, for those of you who don't know, they were sued in the UK for tax evasion and they lost the case. They didn't even try to defend themselves. They lost the case. They ended up losing like $2 million or something like that. And then they sued Meta. And then they lost the Meta case. It was one of the most brutal dismissals I think I've ever read. It was absolutely brutal. And then they sued TikTok, and then that was transferred to Singapore. And I believe that, I don't know if that's been closed down or not, but they're losing that. They lost their first case with us. Yeah, man, they're geniuses, but they claim that to be we're geniuses. They think that they're geniuses, but they're losing almost everything. Cases that go to trial, they're losing. Yeah, they've been able to string our case. They've refiled for our case. They sued X trying to unmask us. So those are new filings. They've been able to drag out the Jane Doe case in Florida for forever, but that doesn't mean they're winning. She just flipped the script on them with the discovery. But it's just funny, like one loss after another loss after another loss. They lost against Meta, lose against TikTok. They lost the tax evasion case. They lost against us. They're going to lose again. They're going to lose again on us for these next 2 hearings.
But it's been going on for years. I remember when Andrew Tate, after it was one of the videos that I did with on Vivian, and he then posted, "Just wait till I turn up to court with her passport." And even then, I think he said that, I'm going to take them all. I'm going to sue them all. And it was the next month that he was charged with allegedly trafficking her as a minor. Like the next month. It's that just over and over again. Even now, it's like what was it? It was 2024 that they were just riding high of the irregularities found with the Romanian indictment, that they just kept saying the case it's been dismissed, and now Romania is literally like, look, these are the charges, they're still here. Well,
the Vivian thing was funny, where he was like, I'm going to bring her passport to court and everybody's going to be paying me, and then he ends up getting charged with trafficking her as a minor, right? He's charged with trafficking her as a minor, and the UK indecent images of a child, which I believe is 15 charges. 15 charges of indecent images of the child in the UK, and then trafficking in minors in Romania. And we talked about this in the last stream. It's countries can prosecute for the entire trafficking chain. So the fact that she started in the UK and then went on to Romania's charged him for the entire trafficking chain, where she was on My Free Cams as a 17-year-old, and they've had cooperation with My Free Cams on that. They have letters rogatory confirming her age. Her father confirmed her age, but her father also said some nonsense that she didn't go to the UK until after she was 18, but yet there's video evidence of her on cam before that. So I think her father was trying to cover for her, but he did. Her age has been confirmed multiple times. And for those of you who don't know, there are multiple websites out there. She worked under other names, and her content is still out there, and it's all dated. Don't click on it, don't watch it, but it's out there.
No, but there's even still social media accounts, even on Twitter, that it's not pornography, but it has her.
They're referencing her. Yeah. They're referencing her when she was 16. When she was 16 years old on cam.
Still there. You can find it. Like she's not naked, but they're they're like, here's so and so with a name, and you look at the dates, and she's a minor.
Yeah. If nothing else, I think that's what's going to get him. If everything else were to fall apart, I think that's the one thing that's going to nail his ass. Just because it's still online and it's dated, and her date of birth, and My Free Cams is cooperating with authorities. Like, best of luck.
But there's something to that where it's like, I've always felt like that the fact that it could seemingly begin with Vivian, her being like his first girl, and then being the thing that brings it all down. There's something just so beautiful about that. Just the karma, the poetry of it all,
We haven't seen any more videos of her. They're posting videos from her from 3 years ago saying Andrew Tate didn't traffic me.
Here's an interesting tidbit. And I haven't been able to verify this yet, because unlike Romania, the UK, it's really difficult to get information from. And then you have to be careful what you share about the UK when you do get information. But multiple media outlets said that 4 women had come forward or whatever the number was. And if that's accurate, then that means she would have come forward. I don't know if that's accurate yet. I've been trying to confirm that, but multiple media outlets, they were talking about this particular UK case, and they said that these women came forward, and it was all of the women involved would have come forward. And if that's the case, then she would have turned on them. That I'm trying to get that confirmed. I don't know if it happened or not. I don't know if the media is just reading that wrong, but I'm trying to get that confirmed. If she turned on him, oh boy, that'd be something.
I remember the last time that I saw her was she popped up on Instagram, and she was talking a lot about trying to set up a space, I guess you call it a safe space for women, and she was even referencing her ex and like alluding to being in an abusive relationship. You know, so that based on that, if you're going to take her word for it, which I don't know if you should, that was the direction that she was going, and she was passionate about that, about trying to create a space for women who'd been in abusive relationships. Like we've always said this, the what that would do to you if you had been, you know, groomed from the age of like 15, and to have seen the things that she'd done. I mean, I think that's a hell of a lot of, you know, I'd say if it's true, and, you know, it's all alleged, and I believe, in my opinion, but I think it's a lot of trauma, a lot of like brainwashing and programming. That's hard to get away from. And like you were saying, Gadget, she was always like, you know, trotted out to give these statements to say that Andrew Tate's innocent, and, you know, blah blah. So,
well, his recorded jail calls, what we've seen in the Romanian documents, his jail calls were recorded, and he's specifically telling Luke to have her and Yasmina and Betty and anybody else they can find to make those videos. It's documented that he was instructed Luke to find these people, to get these people, specifically her, specifically Yasmina, specifically Betty, specifically a couple of others, to make those videos. And then he came back on another call and said, "Oh, get Viv to make another one. Have her say this. Tell her what to say." So like all of this stuff is so documented. And it's funny to me when they're releasing these videos now, they're trying to recirculate these videos with the same people that he instructed to make those videos. They're sharing these videos as if like, "Oh, wow, look at here's one of the girls in the Tate's case. She said they're totally innocent." Like, yeah, this is one of the times that's time stamped, and it's documented in the Romanian documents where Tate told Luke to have them make those videos. Like it's mind blowing to me that the fan base won't even take the time to read through this stuff. They won't take the time to like the thought that they could be wrong about all of this. Like it doesn't even enter their little pea brains. And they
but I think what's really telling. There you go.
Go ahead.
Well, I think what's really telling is that from what I've seen no videos, like no new videos of girls coming out.
Right. They stopped. Right.
Like where are they? All of the videos are old. So, you know, why isn't Vivian making a video now defending him? Why aren't there more girls that are coming out in defense? Like, you know.
Well, we now know because of the Romanian documents that were submitted to the Department of Justice. There's what was it 19? Was that the correct number? 19 people that the Tate brothers have been charged for influencing statements, trying to get them to not cooperate with authorities through bribery and threats and everything else, according to Romanian prosecutors. And this is what they submitted to the Department of Justice. You can pull that up on the screen there. Nathan, if you can go find that. So when you think about it, like, you know, how many of these women were bribed? I mean, we know the 15-year-old in the second case that Romania was building, where Andrew was charged with sex acts with a minor. We know she was 15 at the time. She gave a statement against Tate. And one of the charges he has was with her for allegedly offering her, I think it was 5,000 euros to not cooperate with the authorities, but he only paid her half. Like he didn't even come through on the one, like what are you doing, man? Like you're gonna offer this 15-year-old 5,000 euros to not cooperate with the police. And he even bought her, according to the documents, he bought her a new iPhone that's clean. So when she went into authorities to extract the data off of her phone, there wouldn't be any evidence. And then he only paid her half, and then she just squealed on him. And then gave her the real phone. And then I think there's a wiretap that's involved in all that too. Like, yeah, if how fucking stupid are you, man? How stupid are you to get caught having sex with a 15-year-old and then bribing her and then denying following through on your bribe? Like, if that happened the way it played out in her statement, the way it played out in the document with prosecutors are saying, like, you are just the dumbest person on earth. No, he's not being extradited right now. That hearing is coming.
Yeah, influence victims 19 times.
Yeah. And what's another thing that's really funny is the entire Tate circle jerk of fandom. I love there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever. They're being prosecuted with no evidence whatsoever. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in Romania. It doesn't work that way in the United States. It doesn't work that way in Romania or in the UK, especially in the UK. The UK has a full code test, which is a 2-step process before anybody gets prosecuted there. And the first step is the evidentiary stage, where they have to have enough compelling evidence for prosecutors to have a realistic prospect of getting a conviction. So prosecutors in the UK have enough evidence already that they're ready to go to trial for, and they believe is going to lead to a conviction. Like, that's in the UK. And in Romania, they have, in terms of, what's being used as evidence, number one, witness statements are evidence. Number two, witness statements are evidence. Alleged victim statements are evidence. Wiretaps are evidence. CCTV footage is evidence. Financial transactions are evidence. All of the data that was extracted off of all of their devices, computers, phones, all of it, that's probably the most damning evidence of anything else, in addition to the witness and the alleged victim statements alone. Like, all of that is evidence. So when you have forensically extracted data off of their phones, talking about doing certain things, they're kind of lucky they got out of Romania, because when that eventually went to trial, that would have been tough. And the funny thing is they talked publicly like, oh, they fabricated this. There's zero evidence of that. There's absolutely zero evidence of that. And I have the entire document, the follow-up to why the indictment was sent back, but I have the entire document, and I highlighted points of that where the judge said that everything was done legally. There was just some procedural issues that had to be dealt with. And they didn't argue against these chats. They didn't say, oh, they didn't tell the court Decotter fabricating this. No, they forensically extracted them. And Tates went as far, and it caused a delay because they had this information for like 7 months, and they had a hearing, and they said, oh, well, we can't access the hearing, or we can't access the data. And then they made DCOT provide proof and evidence that everyone who used the software to forensically extract the data, that they were properly trained in order to extract the data. So they provided that. So all of that's uncontested. Yeah, their chat messages are incredibly, incredibly damning in the Romanian case. And then the witness statements and the statements from the alleged victims themselves. There's a lot of them who talk about blackmail. Statements about them allegedly going to tell their parents what they were doing if they tried to quit. Like, damning, really damning stuff.
Trying to pull up the oh, here, I got it here. This is this is where, as what you're saying, it's like it's so damning what they were caught saying, and they managed to spin, or I believe outright lie, so much of it with zero to no pushback. This is one of the few times where they're actually confronted with their own words and this is from Mircea, who's done the best work in Romania covering this. Mircea
hands down.
Babu. And so this is one of the quotes from their phone. So this is Tristan Tate. Here we go. He says, mainly I'm going to slave these bitches and I don't want to write the my free cam score. So when they start not on my free cam score or stagnate, or after they're done video chatting, after all the chips can be taken out of the room, I'm going to change it and make them do more hours and hours and hours. I'm slaving over these bitches. No slave work, minimum 10 or 12 hours a day. Now, this is Mircea confronting Tristan Tate with that quote.
Tristan, you said slave those bitches. Yes, I am. Slave the bitches.
So
do you still believe that?
One second. So you get the indictment, right?
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be evidence that I'm a human trafficker.
Correct.
And I called my ex-girlfriend, who says I'm innocent, a slave in the file. That's the big bombshell. Aren't you
Slave those bitches. Did you say that or not?
Are you underwhelmed?
Did you say that or not?
Did I call my ex-girlfriend a slave in the indictment?
You said slave those bitches.
She is fighting for my innocence, and she knows I'm innocent. She's told all the judges and courts of default that I'm innocent. If the fact that you get your hands on the indictment, you losers at the BBC, you pedophile harborers, and the worst thing you find in the indictment isn't anyone kidnapped, anyone chained up, anyone tied up. The fact that I called a girl who still loves me, my slave, and isn't a victim.
You said slave those bitches. You said slave those bitches. Work them 12 hours or more.
You're a bitch.
Is that correct?
Yeah, he doesn't handle pushback well.
Completely false.
So here's the funny thing. Number one, he wasn't talking to his ex-girlfriend because she's identified in the actual file. He's talking to a woman who was working for them at the time, who was helping to recruit girls, and she's implicated in the second case in Romania. So it was not his girlfriend, and he was very clearly talking about the women who was working for him. For him to even try to reframe that, as I was talking to my ex-girlfriend at Kink, is just fucking hilarious.
Well, he
it identifies who he was speaking to, and it wasn't his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, well, repeatedly from my memory, his framing was, I was talking about my girlfriend and her doing some housework, so I was joking around, calling her a slave. That's how he tried to frame it. But of course, as you see, the full quote in context is absolutely not that. It very clearly shows that they're talking about my free cams, pornography, amount of hours that they're going to get them to work, trick them by like hiding, hiding the tokens. But yeah, so that's where it's like, well, they only ever went on the cushiest interviews where there was next to no pushback, or someone like Piers Morgan, who just didn't bother doing the due diligence to actually know the facts of the case. Yeah, but this is the point that you're making. Like, these actual chats, when you see them, they're incredibly damning. I mean, that whole we were talking earlier about this whole episode about this one girl who attempted to leave, and like all of that is documented in these chats.
Yes, and the thing is, none of this stuff is being presented in a vacuum. You can read this and say, okay, well, that's just one thing. That's just one thing, and it doesn't mean anything. Right. But when you do, like, the entire picture is used together. They use corroborating evidence. Like, these messages are used with this. It matches with what this witness said. It matches with what this alleged victim is claiming. It matches with this video. It matches with these chats taken off of his device. Like, everything works together to build the case, to build the evidence. They're not really leaning on one particular thing. They compile everything and use corroborated evidence to build the case. That's how it works. So they don't look at these things in a vacuum.
But I also always go back to, if you're innocent, why is it that you appear to have to just outright lie about something like this? Like your explanation does not make sense in any way when you actually look at the evidence. Why do you need to do that? Why do you seemingly need to lie about your criminal charges? Why do you seemingly need to lie about the fact that your criminal cases have been dropped? That to me, even if you're not in the weeds with the actual details of the case, the fact that they seemingly, I believe, lie about every single bit of it, up to and including their charges, that to me speaks very loudly, and that's not something that innocent people do.
Well, I want to go and I want to expand on this statement right here. I pulled up the indictment, and that's just part of the statement. And keep in mind, he says he's talking to his girlfriend about the slave kink, right? So it starts off, he's talking about new girls. I have new girls, and I'm reading from the indictment right now. These are from forensically extracted chats, including the one with the statue, whatever that means. I wouldn't trust any of these bitches on OnlyFans. I wouldn't give any of them the password. I don't want anyone to have the passwords to Pornhub, X videos, OnlyFans, MyFreeCams. I don't want them to have the passwords. I don't want them to have anything. That is in context connected to the part where he says, mainly I'm going to slave these bitches, and I don't want to write the MFC cam score, which is the token score. So when they're not performing on MFC or stagnate, or after they're done video chatting, after all the chips can be taken out of the room, and I'm going to make it so they do more hours and hours and hours. I'm slaving these bitches. No, slave work, minimum 10 to 12 hours a day. So within the context, and then it goes on. And then I guess she must have said something. They redacted that. And it says, that's fine. But as far as OnlyFans being run by us, I wouldn't really want to tell the girls that they can go live, because I don't want to tell them that they have OnlyFans. I want that money to be used by me and you. Fuck them. So within that context, it looks like, based on how this is put together, that they're trying to take tokens from girls. And the way it reads is some of them might not even know they're on OnlyFans. And if that's true, if they've put content of people on OnlyFans and they didn't even know they were put on OnlyFans, holy shit. But this is all in the indictment. This is all, forensically extracted off of their devices. I'm reading directly from the indictment. This indictment was sent back due to some procedural issues, not because of these chats. All of this stuff was admissible and it was fine.
Let's read out this super chat. Chris, thank you again, mate. Interesting. Tate Icarus flying too close to the sun. That is the fate of all these people, I hope. Positive message. Yeah, I mean, how long can you get away with this stuff? If all of this is true.
And by the way, what I was just reading there, did that sound like a conversation he was having with his girlfriend about kink? Where in that conversation about not giving them access to their OnlyFans and not giving them access to their passwords, where does that fall in the kink? Is there a password kink that I'm not aware of? Does that exist somewhere? Oh yeah. I'm gonna hide the password from you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you've been working on OnlyFans, that's odd kink.
Yeah.
And Nate, I left a post in the chat there, Nathan. This
right.
It's a very similar situation. It's about the Tristan inciting violence charge, and it's 2 clips of him talking about it. And I'll let the chat decide. So he's talking about the same incident. I'll let the chat decide.
Yeah, so this is the incident that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So there's a transcript, and there's 2 clips on separate podcasts of him talking.
All right, let's see his explanation, then we can go to the transcript.
And I've got one for inciting violence. So essentially telling people to go beat people up and stuff, not beating them up myself, but telling people to.
Mm-hmm.
And my inciting violence charge, I'm going to tell you that all the evidence against me, right? A friend of mine, a female friend of mine, told me a story on WhatsApp where she got into an altercation, pushing and pulling kind of altercation with another girl. The event had already happened. And afterwards, because it's WhatsApp and, I talked to her, so I've known her 10 years, like I'll talk to a friend of mine. I went, ha, 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 yeah, real funny, kick her ass. That's it.
That's why I am charged with the incitement of violence against others, because an event had already taken place. I laughed about it and said, kick her ass, when these two girls, I heard they were pushing and pulling each other over some nonsense, clothes or something. I don't know what it was. And I've got one.
Do you know my Romanian?
This is another same example, and it's a different time he's telling it.
Different story.
Do you know my Romanian incitement for violence story? I had a girl living in an apartment that I paid for, and she did something that upset me. So I told my assistant to kick her out. Kick her out is an English expression that we all know what it means. Ask her to leave. The Romanians translated it literally and added in a bit of words to kick her and beat her and throw her out. They translated it into Romanian, despite the fact that I sent the message in English, and said Tristan is telling his assistant to physically assault people. And I, in the first law, it's been thrown out of court now, was charged with inciting violence and telling people to beat people up. Insanity.
It is insanity because that's not what happened. He can't. Number one, he can't keep his story straight. Number two, he never made that argument in court whatsoever. And number three, it was about one of the girls who wanted to quit. And I've got this open here. I'll read part of this because it's quite a long conversation. And he sends a group message here to Luana and Georgiana. He says, "You just follow my instructions." And then he says, "Yes, I'm kicking her out. There's no rational solution with bitches. Kick them out hard, and if they come back, they come back." And Georgiana says, "I want my money back or I'll cut her tits off." And then Tristan says, "Kick her out, take her things, and take them to your house." Luana says, "Yes, I don't want her to leave." And Tristan says, "Keep all of her stuff now. Her breasts cost me 1,500 euros. Valentine worked them cheap for me." And Tristan says, "We can do that with her account." Luana says, "She owes us 4,000 euros. Tristan says, "Pay attention. I know how we should work this out. Nothing you say will help. The move is now as follows." Georgiana says, "Okay." Then he says, "Both of you get her out of the house. Hit her if you have to. I don't care. Don't let her take her things." Luana says, "Thanks. Okay." And Tristan says, "When you kick her out, keep her stuff in Georgiana's car so Yasmina can't give it to her if she comes back later. Throw her out of the house with nothing. Georgiana, you've seen me do this 10 times. Go and do it now. Both." And then Georgiana says, "We're on it." And then as the story goes, and by the way, that was reading out of the chat conversation, Georgiana allegedly went at that point and physically assaulted her, threw her out of the house. She went to the police. And while she was gone, that's when Georgiana opened up the person's laptop and distributed pornography to apparently friends and family and people that she knew in front of the other girls and said something along the lines of, "The next one is going to get it worse." So because of that, they've both been charged. Tristan's is incitement to violence, and Georgiana's is something about illegal access to a computer. Something I forget what the name of it is.
And assault, right? Or the
and the assault
variation, right? Of and this is where so like you said, this is the criminal charges. So
right,
so Tristan Tate only has that one instigation of assault. So that's where he's addressing that charge. And as you've seen it now in these two examples, completely different explanations. And neither of which match the actual verified chat here.
Like he brought these things up in podcasts. Like he brought up the subject.
I love in that second one that he forgets that they're meant to be. It's meant to be dismissed. Like he remembers like halfway through. Oh, that's right. It's dismissed, by the way.
Idiot.
Yeah. All right. I start winding down because it's getting late. Chris, thanks again, buddy. Andrew is of course scum, but Tristan is the one that really creeps me out. American Psycho vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like who's the most psycho? I don't know. It's, you know, it's a tight race in my mind.
So somebody in the chat says, why are you skipping over a victim impact statement willingly? Post it. If you have it, post it. Because there's nothing that I have in official documents that is verified as coming to their defense.
Oh, they're talking about victim impact statement. Oh, they're probably just talking about those dumb videos.
Yeah.
Oh, right. The yeah, where they've just been trotted out to make videos.
Yeah. I'm sorry when we post videos,
as we've covered.
Yeah,
yeah.
When you post videos of
covered,
saying I'm not a victim, and there's texts of Georgiana threatening to hit her and throw her off the balcony. I'm sorry.
Right.
You can say she's not a victim all you want because she said so. But
also, as Crayons covered, Andrew Tate was caught, you know, ordering these girls to make videos. Yeah. And he's since been charged with witness tampering. I think I've got that here. Let me read this out. In this regard, in the case of Andrew Tate, it was found that between January 2023 to July 2024, he influenced or attempted to influence 7 victims with the aim of inducing them to make false statements, to refrain from making any statements, or to retract their statements. And in the case of defendant Tristan Tate, it was found that between August 2023 to May 2024, he influenced or attempted to influence a total of 12 victims under the same circumstances. These acts constitute the offense of influencing statements committed on a continuing basis.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, you know, it's difficult to say with a straight face that, oh, these women say that, you know, they're not victims of these guys. You know, that's what the women are saying. Number one, the documents show, the Romanian documents show that his jail calls were recorded and he instructed Luke to get them to make those videos, number one. Number two, they've both been charged with influencing statements. What is that, 19 incidents of witness tampering, essentially, where they allegedly were bribing and threatening people to not cooperate with authorities. And additionally, it doesn't matter what the women actually say, because the prosecutors have evidence that they believe proves their exploitation, they can keep you in the case. That's why they got added in the case in the first place. And by the way, there's zero evidence of anybody being threatened by DCOT, being offered money from DCOT. All of that is just public nonsense. There's not a word of that actually in any of the documents whatsoever. Nothing. That's just public nonsense. But when prosecutors find evidence which leads them to believe that someone has been exploited, they can add you to a case for human trafficking. So if you have a woman saying, oh, but I'm not, you know, I wasn't exploited, that's fine. Then when it goes to trial, you can work that out. But if they have evidence that makes them believe otherwise, they're going to leave you in the case. Doesn't matter what you say.
Really, you're denied. Thank you, gentlemen. You're all top human beings. Thanks, mate. Fox to Reborn. Free Top G. To,
all right.
10 more push-ups. And it'll be free.
Yeah. 10 more push-ups. Get on them.
Chris again. Thanks, mate. Very, very generous. Oh, already read this one. Well, thanks anyway, mate. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to cover?
Man,
there's plenty to
cover. We've covered. Yeah, I mean, there's a. Go ahead.
No. I think this is a good. We haven't done this in a little while, so it was good to just do a kind of a general chat to talk broadly about where things are at. You know, but we've got these hearings coming up, and you know, we've still got a fair bit to raise for our defense. So I'm keen to do this. You know, if not on a weekly basis, then fortnightly. It'll be good to dig in deeper into these things.
There's over 1,000 people watching on X right now.
I mean, there's I think there's so much to cover. So even just going into briefly with this with going into the verified chats from the indictment, I'm finding that people still aren't really aware of the actual Andrew Tate criminal cases and what they've been accused of. So I'd be happy to do some more of these and maybe a little bit more structured, where we can kind of really like zero in on some of the alleged evidence. It'll be good for this to be a more ongoing thing. We can bring on people. I'd love to even get Willie Mack to like come on, also like Crayons. It'd be great for you to even. I'd be happy to host like what you've done with Spaces, to do some more. We're able to actually do some debates and take on questions.
I'd love that. Can we broadcast a space through this streaming system? Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, that should be we should be able to do that. We can.
Yeah, I would love to have a space, and we can do it through your account here. And I was trying to connect this to my account, but I couldn't figure it out. I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world. But
no, that's right. Well, I've only been doing this for a month, so I'm still getting my head around it. But
I would love to have a space where we broadcast it. I would love to have a whole just load up the Tate fans and just come in and just come at me with your questions, because I can tell you with absolute certainty that you've all been fed the biggest load of bullshit and you don't realize it. And here's the thing: at some point, you're going to realize it. At some point, you're going to go, oh shit, none of what they told me was true. At some point, you're going to have an epiphany. And I just want to let you know, no hard feelings when that happens. Feel free to tag me and say, yeah, you told me so. You tried to warn me. And I genuinely don't care what you think. I'm not trying to convince you, but I do think that you're doing yourself a disservice if you are being ignorant and not listening to everything. Like, if you don't want to hear what's actually happening, then it's your fault. It's your fault if you get fooled. It's your fault if you if you embarrass yourself and embarrass your family, or these pictures of you doing push-ups outside of his facility haunt you for the next 10 years. It's your fault. But if you want to hear why he's in this situation, I'm not saying he's guilty of it, but if you want to hear why he's in this situation, you should open your mind. Instead of, and I see some people in these spaces say things like, well, I don't even need to read the charges because I know they're bullshit. Like, what? Like, what? Oh, the UK is the most corrupt country. Well, Romania was the most corrupt country until the UK got involved. And now the UK is the most corrupt country. And the funny thing is, I forget what the name of the index is for, but I think it's like 2025 for the Law and Order Index around the world. The UK is number 14. 14th in the world, and the United States is like number 26. So they're like, oh, try them in the United States. But the UK's judiciary is ranked higher than the United States. Yeah, interesting.
All right, let's play one more clip of this guy. I haven't seen this yet. I think you might be in this gadget. I think it's from one of them. Streamed.
Yeah. Somebody needs to turn all of McBride's videos into cartoons, like a Rick and Morty style cartoon.
I would legitimately tune into a McBride reality TV series of him being a litigator
all day, all day, right? Like a modern day Better Call Saul, but like with an incompetent attorney, yeah,
who loves AI.
Yeah.
All right, let me play.
So they threw the kitchen sink at them, and they drummed up every lie that they could, every lie on earth and every lie in hell, in order to make these two guys look like the Osama bin Ladens of rape.
What does that mean? The Osama bin Ladens of rape? Yeah, I don't know. That's a strange comparison, but okay.
That is wild. The Osama bin Laden of rape. Holy shit.
Still don't know what it means.
were you watching this and just like caught that just
Yeah, I was streaming with Watts TV. Shout out Watts. I was streaming with Watts TV for McBride's speech, and there was a number of moments like this where both of us were just, we hadn't watched any of it, and we were just completely thrown off. Like, what was that? What does that mean? Oh, it was funny.
My favorite is that he seems to be flirting with some kind of like being like a civil rights leader with his like. I really feel like he's getting into it. All right.
Bin Laden.
The Osama, to quote Joe McBride, and by the way, Mecha Tava, I can't pronounce your name here in the chat. It says AI McBride. That's the show title. AI McBride. Yeah, so AI McBride here called, he said the Osama bin Laden of rape. What the fuck?
What does that mean?
What does that even mean? The Osama bin Laden of rape. And his Tate's lawyer says it. Joe McBride said that. The Osama bin Laden.
The media could be like, well, that sounds like that's a good headline. Or Andrew Tate. Some call him the Osama bin Laden of rape.
Yeah, what? And then after this, he was like, you know what? I think I'll go home and make some AI slop. Seriously, imagine this is your lawyer, and you're on. First of all, you've been charged in Romania with rape. You have been charged in the UK with rape. You're being sued in the UK for rape, and your lawyer's making jokes, calling you the Osama bin Laden of rape.
Just Andrew Tate in solitary confinement, and still somehow he's like, why are people calling me the Osama bin Laden? Like,
yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know, Andrew. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. What? I have no idea. I don't know, but we're going to sue the people who said it.
Yeah, why am I being called the Al Qaeda of human trafficking?
Fuck. Like, I wonder if as that was coming out of his mouth, he was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Or he said it, and when he was finished, he was like, "That went hard as fuck."
Yeah,
like,
it's funny. Like,
one of those
at
songs.
the end of the clip, that's what I say at the end of the clip.
Yeah.
Right at the end, I'm like, he probably thought of this before the whole speech and thought that sounds sick.
Yeah, right. He was driving over there, just playing it back in his head what he was going to say. The Osama bin Laden a rape, and he's like, "Oh fuck yeah, that's it. That's what I'm going with on national television. That's what I'm going with." Man.
All right. It's Leo Thompson. Thank you. Not sure if you've been over this yet, but do you guys think Tate will get a prison sentencing? If so, for how long? Decades, possibly.
I'll go first. I have not seen the entirety of what's going on in the UK. I just know bits and pieces of it. But I do know regarding the some of it. I have seen regarding the indecent images. I'll say this. I don't know for sure. I don't know if he's going to get convicted. My personal opinion is he will be convicted of some of the offenses. And if he's convicted, he will probably do a significant amount of time in UK. For which ones, who knows? I mean, and I mentioned this twice now, for the UK to charge them, before that even happens, they have to go through what's called a full code test. It's a 2-step process before they file charges. The first step is an evidentiary process where they review the evidence, and they have to come to the conclusion that the evidence that they have gives them a likely prospect of getting a conviction. So they already believe that their evidence will lead to a conviction, or at least give them a chance of getting a conviction. That's number one. If it passes beyond that, the second step is it has to be of public interest. So it has to be something that's worthy of going after. So it passed that, and the evidence step is the first part. So the fact that they have been criminally charged for this doesn't play in their favor. And because there's so many charges, I do, it's a case I expect maybe some of them will be defeated, but there's 50 something charges between the two of them. I just don't see a scenario where they're going to beat them all. My opinion, of course. And if they are convicted, I expect some significant prison sentence if they are convicted. What do you guys think?
I couldn't speak confidently on this, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
it's tough to say.
I need to see more details. But the thing that I think is that, you know, if they do get extradited, if this goes to trial, you know, if the evidence is anything like what's in the Romanian indictment,
exactly,
or from what I've heard, or some things that I've heard about what happened in the UK, then the reputational damage is going to be just, you know, extreme. Because I mean, we can joke about this stuff with McBride, but I mean, some of these allegations and the things, they are truly heinous allegations, and the British press are going to be ruthless if this stuff comes out, and that's going to do, you know, I mean, that's going to just do an incredible amount of damage.
One thing I've always said from the beginning of this is I've like, when it comes to rape charges and rape allegations, that's always tough. Rape is difficult to prosecute. Always has been, always will be. I've never thought confidently, just based on historical information, right? It's hard to, first of all, it's hard to even charge somebody with rape. And then it's even harder to get a conviction of rape. So I think it's highly possible that maybe he'll dodge some of those, possibly. Maybe not. But the things like, you know, human trafficking allegations, child pornography, extreme pornography, I think that's where his real battle is going to be, especially the indecent images of a child. I think in the UK, based on what we currently know, in my opinion, the indecent images of a child is probably going to be his biggest battle. I could be wrong, but based on what little I know, yeah, in my opinion, that's his biggest battle. Gadget,
did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, if you're looking at specific charges in the UK, for every single one, it's definitely tough because there's very little information.
Yeah.
Really, at all of them, it's the indecent images of a child is unless there's another minor from the same time frame, we have a bit of an idea.
Right.
Yeah, but so it's very speculative, but just seeing how these guys operate, like you said, what we've seen in Romania, just for Andrew's like alleged rape allegations, the way we've seen him taunt women, and we're seeing that again, I think, who have accused him of this. I find it very hard to believe that there's not going to be enough evidence to put him away for a long time. Again, it's only speculation, but what's very interesting to me as well is if they do get a lengthy prison sentence in the UK, which I feel is likely, what the Romanian case looks like by the time they've served a number of years, what's happening in the US with the federal investigation there, the Florida investigation there, which McBride keeps saying has been dropped, but I'm not so sure. We've seen evidence of that. So it'll be very interesting for me to see, like, if they go to the UK and are convicted, whether it's a case of there'll be more sentences in other countries waiting for them. I think that's a very interesting prospect.
I tend to, oh, hey, Just Me, you're back. I would love to get your opinion on this here in a moment. I tend to lean towards, because we've seen a significant amount of evidence come out of Romania. Chat messages off their phone, witness statements from alleged victims, financial information. And now we're seeing this in the UK. We know the Department of Justice has them under investigation. And I tend to say that there's so much smoke between all of this. There's so much smoke that, in my opinion, there has to be a fire. And I know a lot of people say, well, why is the UK all of a sudden doing this? And how are they able to pull things back from 2000? First of all, you've heard of the statute of limitations. Everybody's heard about that. And the statute of limitations doesn't run out for some offenses. Some things there are no statute of limitations. Some things there are, like the instigating violence charge in Romania that has a statute of limitations. So if you don't get them to trial before that runs out, then you can't prosecute them for it. But certain offenses are very serious, and there is no statute of limitations on them. And I believe, based on documents that we've seen in one of Romania's recent documents that they put out, was that they were cooperating with Romania and the United States on cases. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all of the UK things fired up again after Romania extracted all of the data off of their devices. I think there's a connection there. If I were to bet money on something, I would bet that Romania extracted a gold mine of information off of devices, and they shared it with the company or the countries that they needed to share it with. I'm speculating there, but it happened in that order. After Romania took that information and had time to process it, then the UK, like all this stuff started happening in the UK. The tax thing happened in the UK. After Romania got that information, all of a sudden they were sued for tax evasion. Then a criminal case, and then another criminal case. So I feel like those are connected. And that's why some charges don't have a statute of limitations, because if you come across evidence later that leads prosecutors to believe that, okay, well, they may have done this and we just come across this new information. That's how cold cases get solved, right? Cases that haven't been solved for decades sometimes. Sometimes they find some DNA or bones in a backyard or something crazy. They can reopen those cases. So I think that's what happened here. And
well, I mean,
I
mean that would make sense, especially with Vivian. You know, hypothetically, if she was one of the alleged victims in the UK, had to do with the you know, the indecent images of a minor. Well, I mean, you're right. Romania was able to establish a date of birth with Slovakia. And you know, I always thought that it's like, well, you know, if they can charge him with trafficking her as a minor to do pornography in Romania, then why couldn't they do that in the UK?
They technically can. They technically can. I was speaking to someone in the UK. Just like how the US has extraterritorial laws where they can prosecute Americans who violate certain laws, whether overseas, apparently the UK can do that as well. Will they? I have no idea. But apparently, if the UK wanted to, there are certain offenses that took place allegedly in Romania that they could technically prosecute for in the UK. I don't know if they will, but I think technically they could. The important thing is we know based on documentation that Romania has said that they are cooperating and working with the UK and the United States on this. So as such, you can imagine that the evidence and all the information they have is just flowing in all directions. And they're probably deciding who has the best shot of doing this based on jurisdiction, when things happen, how things allegedly happen. I would suspect there's a lot of conversations going back and forth here, because this is huge. Like this is huge. You know, you're under investigation in the United States. You're prosecuted in Romania. You're prosecuted in the United Kingdom, and all of the allegations are similar. They all have crossover. This is huge, and the wheels of justice turn very slowly, especially when you start talking about multiple countries being involved and people who have lived in different countries and have banking in different countries. And some of the alleged victims have gone back and forth. Yeah, it's huge and it's slow.
No, you're right though. I mean, because it does involve different. I mean, even in the Romanian indictment, one of the rapes that isn't included, but it is described, took place in the UK.
Exactly. She alleged in that he was choking her She thought she was going to die. And while he was choking her, he was punching her in the side of the head. And as a result of the strangulation, it burst the blood vessels in her eye. And apparently, according to the document, she has medical reports of this. So I'm going to guess she's one of the alleged victims in the UK because she's from the UK.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's one. Peter Wilson. Thank you, Peter.
Good question.
I don't like Tate, but who's to say this whole thing is not being exaggerated by the women? Who's to say they're not making up the allegations?
I don't like Tate part.
Or at least exaggerating what actually happened.
That's the Andrew Tate fans. Sorry, Mark. That's the Andrew Tate fans script.
Yeah, well, that's what. Do you know what? I do see a lot of people who say, "How do we not know this isn't part of the Me Too movement?"
Yeah, let's talk about that. Can I take it?
Yeah, for sure.
Can I take this one? Okay. Number one, the prosecutors in Romania are not prosecuting based on what the women said. I believe there's some of that in the UK for the women who are alleging that they were raped. But I know in Romania, prosecutors found the evidence through a very thorough investigation. They found evidence which led them to believe that these women were exploited. Only then did they get statements from them after they were identified. That's what we know from the Romanian side. So in Romania, this wasn't a case of all of the, and there's Romanian documents say that there are currently 46 alleged victims in the Romanian case that they have currently. 46. And 3 of them were minors at the time. 2 of those minors ended up with charges for trafficking in minors and sex acts with a minor. So only after the investigation did those women give statements to the authorities. So that's a Romanian case. In addition to all of the chat messages that were extracted off of Tate's devices that align with some of the statements that these women have made after they were identified as possible trafficking victims. In the UK, we don't have the details of the level of evidence yet, but we do know it passed the full code test, and evidence is one of those. But we also know for the indecent images of a child and extreme pornography, that's something that they would find. That's not something that a woman would necessarily go to the authorities and say, hey, I've done extreme pornography for this guy, right? This is something they would have identified and reached out to that alleged victim. And if she cooperated or not, I don't know. Some media outlets have said that she did, but I can't confirm that. But they would have identified this first. So to your point, there's no evidence that anything has been exaggerated by the women. There are witnesses involved as well. Their own nanny is quoted as their own nanny, their own caregiver is quoted as given a statement in the Romanian document stating that she was instructed not to take care of Tristan's daughter unless the mother made content for OnlyFans. That's documented from their own caregiver. That's not just some random woman. So, I know that probably doesn't satisfy your question, but if all of these women just magically coordinated some giant effort, so 46 in Romania and whatever 7 plus the other 4 is suing him. So, 56 or 60 women have come together and coordinated this to all call the police at the same time. Yeah, that definitely did not happen. Prosecutors have identified the majority of them.
And as you're saying, there's far more evidence than just statements by women.
Right.
I find it kind of ironic that Andrew Tate was very vocal about one of the reasons that he moved to Romania after being investigated, and several women in the UK accusing him of assault and sexual assault and rape. He said that one of the key reasons why he moved to Romania was that the benchmark was actually quite high to be charged with rape. He specifically says, like, the woman says something, that's not enough. They go to check. It's like, what's your evidence? When did this happen? Blah, blah, blah. They go to verify it, So he said all that. and then he ended up getting charged with rape in Romania. So it's one of those things where he's right. It's like you cannot like just a statement alone isn't enough. One of the things that I find quite compelling, putting aside the human trafficking allegations and criminal charges, is looking at just the rape and sexual assault. Is that you have women ranging from 2013 up until last year. You have, I believe it's at least 10 women who have all specifically said that Andrew Tate has strangled them, the majority during sex. Some of them passing out, like some of them passing out, and some of them, several of these women sustaining the same injuries as what Crayons said before about burst blood vessels in their eyes. And these are women, so I believe it's at least 10 women ranging for over a decade across multiple countries, UK, Romania, America, all with the same very, very specific allegation that Andrew Tate strangled them. Women that have never met each other, some that don't even really speak the same language. That to me is very, very convincing. And how that could be a conspiracy is beyond me.
Right. And just to bring him up again, but it's McBride keeps saying this all started with Jane Doe and the lady from Florida. I mean, and that started all of the trafficking allegations and there's all this. So stupid. Like, if that's their public defense.
Yeah. Again, I always come back to, if you're innocent, why would you need to lie about, every element of the accusations against you, including what your charges are? That was the first thing after seeing the interview with Tucker Carlson, when I realized that Andrew Tate had seemingly mischaracterized what he was charged with. I was just like, well, why would you do that? Who would do that if they're innocent?
It's funny. The one I remember that sticks out in my head, it was before I started posting about Tate, and maybe one of the reasons I did months later was the Piers Morgan one when he came out of shortly after he came out of jail, and he was just rambling and just very manic, he seemed, and he repeatedly kept saying that the case is all about TikTok, and they're trying to say that I stole my friends. No, I helped my friends post on TikTok, and they're saying that's human trafficking. And I very clearly remember thinking in my head, seeing this, like, oh my God, it's over for Andrew Tate. Like, not a single person will follow him after this. And then I saw what happened after that. I think that kind of stuck in my head. It was probably about 6 months after I started properly posting about it, where I'm like, okay, like it's incredible that one person takes this guy seriously. It was mind blowing, that period where some of the things he was saying were so stupid, and he was still getting massive support. And yeah, people like Candace and Tucker and PBD going along with it. It was incredible.
No, we've come a long way from this is about TikTok. I just helped some friends make videos on TikTok.
It's funny. He brought that back for the Jack Neal interview that dropped, that he told Jack to post when he gets locked up. He was saying that again. I'm like, oh yes, he's brought back the TikTok thing.
Yeah, well, even Candace, what we played before about her response, her calling back to the taken out of context chat messages, where the alleged victims were trying to get famous and they were joking about it, and it's like, wow, that's a throwback. That's a real throwback there. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. But as I was saying, I'd like to do this more regularly. There's plenty to cover. So we can do that. We can mix up the formats. We can do some more debate Q&A type things. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, a reminder that Andrew Tate is suing all of us, and is suing all of us for covering all of this. And I think as you've all seen, everything we've said can be backed up with proof. Yeah, so Gadget, if you want to feel free to plug social medias and anything you'd like.
Yeah. Gadget 440 on YouTube and X is my main ones. If you're on other socials, you can find me from there. But that's the main one. And thanks everyone for watching. And yeah, keep that. Thanks everyone that's donated to the lawsuit as well, and everyone that is thinking of donating or sharing.
Yeah. Is just me still here?
I am, but I'm at like 3% on my phone if you can hear me.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to say hello.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate everyone who's attended too.
Oh no, did we lose you?
Yeah, I think she's breaking up pretty bad. You have a bad connection.
Well,
we love you. We love you.
Yeah,
Destiny.
we love you.
It's the same.
Thanks for joining. We'll get you on, and it'd be good to even have you talk a bit more about the war room and all of that side of things.
This is such a deep story. Like the entire saga. It just is layers upon layers upon layers of all of this. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy, and I do really feel like you know, if this thing does go to trial, it's only going to dig up more and more things. Do you, Crayons, you want to plug your socials?
Yeah, I mean, I'm murdered. What is my? I don't even know what my handle is. I think it's Crayon Murders. Yeah, I don't listen. I'm not doing this for clicks, for views. I'm not trying to build a brand. I really don't give a shit if you follow me or not. I think it's murdered or Crayon Murder at Crayon Murders. Follow me or don't.
I'm gonna write. It's at Crayon Murders.
Yep. Take it or leave it. Listen to me or don't. I don't care. But the one thing you can't do is prove me wrong. Whatever your take is. Unfucking defeated.
It's not even close.
Yeah, listen, I do want to say this though. Your help with our lawsuit, it means a lot. This is covering a couple of people. It's covering more than us. And we are fighting guys with a lot of money. We're multimillionaires. So we think. And they have resources to drag this stuff out and to keep refiling and keep refiling. And in my opinion, this is truly a good versus evil fight. So if you are on the side of good, any donation, any size is helpful. And if you can't donate, that's fine too. Share it. Share it out on whatever social media platform you have. Give it a share. Make people aware of our story. This is a David and Goliath situation. We're all just random people. We're not known social media influencers, or we don't have significant resources, but we do appreciate your help. Everything that you've donated this far has helped us beat them once. And I'll say this, you don't have to even like us to donate, even if you just want to watch Tate lose. If your only thing is like, you know what, I fucking hate these guys, and I just want to watch Andrew Tate lose. If you only want to do that, we are going to beat them again. And we're going to beat them again. No matter how many times they file, they are going to lose because the truth is on our side. You can't defeat the truth.
Yeah, I did this has never been about them trying to win a lawsuit, I believe.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
I agree.
entirely been about them seeing us as a threat. I think me speaking personally, they had their narrative that they were pushing, and I did my best to combat that. And I think I did a pretty good job, and a good job enough that they saw me as a threat. And,
Well, the funny thing is with you, Nathan, is you just took their own videos. You took their own videos and just
I always say that literally my whole thing was just showing videos of Andrew Tate seemingly confessing to the crimes. So them suing me for defamation is them suing themselves for defamation. That's how I see it. I literally just see Andrew Tate is suing Andrew Tate for defamation because he's suing me. So yeah, this is one of those things where the lawsuit is so absurd. Like, it's so bonkers to stop and think that you're being sued by someone who's in solitary confinement now, facing extradition for
child pornography charges. Child pornography.
Heinous alleged crimes. And he's also, this like world famous influencer. Like, it's all very, very absurd. But the lawsuit is absolutely real. And the legal bills that it costs to fight it isn't a joke. They are very much real, and they continue to mount up. So, like you were saying, Crayons, as big or small, all of it helps. And the only reason we've been able to get to this point now is because enough people have rallied around us to help us fight back, which I don't think they counted on. I don't think they counted on us getting this kind of support. So we do need your help with this. We do, because like Crayons was saying, we don't have the kind of resources to be able to battle this lawsuit. It's extremely expensive. And so, we absolutely appreciate all of the support, whether that's through donations or just helping to get the word out, watching this and just engaging. All of it means so much. So we're incredibly appreciative. All right. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I also want to note that all of our funding goes directly to our lawyer, Christopher Hopkins, with Hopkins PA. And you can see that up there at the top. You can see goal raised, or you can see the goal, you can see raised, you can see fundraiser created by Nathan Pope, and then fundraiser funds will be received by Hopkins PA. He's on Twitter. You can find him if you have any doubts. I see people posting, you guys are just grifting in your, yeah, you know what? Contact our lawyer. Contact our lawyer, see where the funds go. Like when you set up Give, Send, Go.
None of this is going into our pockets or anything. No.
100% of this money goes to our lawyer. And you can reach out to him if you want to confirm that. But when you set up Give, Send, Go, you have to set up who the money is going to be received by. And we've set that up as Hopkins PA, who is our amazing attorney who is kicking Tate's ass every step of the way.
Yep, he's great.
Best man for the job.
Some are calling him the Osama bin Laden of defamation.
Our lawyers. No, I don't know. That would be we don't want to do that. He's a hero. So we need a hero. He's the
What's a hero?
I don't know who's a hero who's done something great. I don't know. He's the Captain America of kicking Tate's ass. Yeah.
Popo, get Elon's attention. He paid Corono and Robinson
and Tommy Robinson suits.
There's a bit of a conflict with him supporting Tommy and supporting us.
Yeah.
I think.
Also, unfortunately, he every time he weighs in on Tate, he seemingly always weighs in on the pro Tate side, where he pushes that they're being unfairly
the interesting
victims of lawfare. There's we can talk about maybe another space. We can kind of touch on a bit of the Elon Tate thing.
The interesting thing about, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was going to say the interesting thing about Elon is his lawyers for X are actually fighting the Tates to not release the information of anonymous accounts. So in a roundabout way, while he's not directly, and it could be a conflict of interest too. Like maybe he can't technically donate to somebody when his legal team is actually fighting them as well. I don't know. I don't know the legalities of that, but his legal team on X, and they sent a team of lawyers after this. They're fighting the Tate brothers to protect our privacy. So I have to give them kudos for that, even if Elon's not aware of it. Or maybe he is. But they're arguing that it's the wrong jurisdiction. They're arguing that they didn't even present a valid case. And they're arguing a whole slew of First Amendment issues for doing that. So, and that hearing is coming up soon. That's on, is that next week?
Is that next week? All right, well, we should definitely do let's do a stream.
It's on the, what date is that? Zoom in, open up the, zoom into the fundraiser.
Yeah, let's have a look.
What is it? 28th. April 20, or August 28th.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah. 8 days from now. So hopefully there's a decision that day, because judges have the choice to what's called rule from the bench, meaning they can just make a decision right then and there, or they can take their time. They can think about it and then, upload their decision. When our case was originally dismissed, it took us from March till December to actually get a hearing. And the judge ruled from the bench, the Honorable Judge Curley, ruled from the bench and dismissed the case within 10 minutes. It might not even been 10 minutes. It might have been less than 10 minutes, because that 10 minutes is including everybody introducing themselves. That was one of the fastest dismissals I think I've ever heard of. And he ruled from the bench immediately. Less than 10 minutes, case dismissed. And then they refiled. And then they sued Twitter. And they've appealed his decision, stating that you cannot sue an anonymous defendant in Florida State Court. They've appealed that decision. So we have 3 lawsuits happening. We have the appeal that we don't have a hearing date for that. The appellate court moves very slowly. Then we have the Second Amendment complaint, which is that hearing's in September. And then we have the X lawsuit that's happening in 8 days from now. But for the pure bill of discovery that involves X, they're fighting that, and we are also fighting that. So we're having to pay to fight that as well.
Yeah, to basically get personal information that they can use for the lawsuit. So and we did look. I made at least a couple of videos appealing to Elon Musk. I don't have his personal phone number or his email, but I did do that. They did fairly well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how if you have a way of directly contacting Elon Musk, then email me at themilkbartv@gmail.com and I'll reach out to him. But yeah, I don't know. All right. Yeah, I tagged him. I tagged him in the post. I literally did a video, addressed directly to him. But if he even saw that, I have no clue. If he's even aware of the lawsuit with the Tate brothers, I don't know. That guy seems to have a lot on his plate.
It would be great for him to step up and say, "Yeah, I'm going to cover the rest of your." Because this is ongoing. This is ongoing. There, because even if we win next week, they can appeal that decision, and if they win in September, or if we win in September, they can appeal that decision. They can drag this out. The crazy thing to me is they're sitting in federal custody in segregated housing right now, facing extradition charges to the UK for allegations of rape and human trafficking and assault and child pornography. And they have so many other things to worry about than us. And every second they spend on us is a second that's being taken away from their fight for freedom. So they are essentially shooting themselves in the foot, focusing on anything other than their freedom right now. It's just stupid to even try to focus.
Think about how many AI videos they could be pumping out instead of.
That's true. That's true. McBride might be able to he might make an AI video per day. if they didn't have to mess with us.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining Crayons Gadget. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thanks for all the super chats. Yeah, our fundraiser is here. So contribute if you can. But as I said, I'm keen to do this a little more regularly. So check back in, and I'll try and nail down a consistent time. But yeah, otherwise, thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, guys.